Summary. In this story, Naruto will be chased out of the village by the villagers and return a year later. He will return a week before the Genin tests to see if people pass the academy or not. Chapter 1. The beginning of a legend. Outskirts of Konoha. Naruto was running for dear life. Why he did not know, he just knew that if he were to be caught, the chances of him living past this night would be unlikely. For behind him was a mob of villagers chasing behind him. Most of the villagers were civilians, but scattered throughout the mob you could find some Chunin and Jounin ninjas yelling out obscenities along with the others while chasing after the young Naruto. Huff huff, why are they chasing me? Sure, they usually glare at me or try to avoid me while whispering vile words under their breaths, but they've never tried to harm me, so why now? Though the panicking blonde. Now that they've finally chased the demon boy out of the village, most of the villagers started heading back, thinking they've done a job well done with chasing him out while hoping he doesn't return. Now, with most of the villagers heading back, there were only a few still chasing about him, either being some rage-induced ninja hoping to end the existence of the demon that stole their loved ones from them, or some hopeful Chunin chasing after him hoping to gain some recognition by killing the vile demon and becoming a hero to the village. Finally, the kunai and shuriken start to fly, while most of them missing because of the dense foliage of trees that surround the village, but a lucky shot or two created some scratches on Naruto or impaled somewhere on his body. Gah! Why are you trying to kill me? We're both villagers of the same village, so why are you trying to kill me? Screamed out the crying young blonde from the pain of the wounds he had to endure just now. Ha! Like you can be called a villager, you're just a demon brat who should have been dealt with a long time ago. Well, now I think it's time we made up for the mistake of letting you live. Law or no law, you will die today, yelled one of the Jounin from the group chasing after him. The only reason they probably haven't caught up to him is that most of them smell like alcohol, probably explaining the new turn of events for our young protagonist. All of a sudden, Naruto noticed the flowing river ahead of him. Damn it, it's too wide to jump over and it's flowing too fast to try to cross, thought the fearful blonde. Ha, we've got you cornered now, demon, so give up and maybe we'll try to make this as painless as possible, commented one of the chasing ninja, while all of them either had smirks on their face or a demented grin, knowing that the end of the chase was upon them and the vile demon would be dead soon. Naruto finally reached the river and was looking on with panic, with any way to cross before the group could catch up. One of the ninja then pulled a Fuma shuriken off of his back and pulled back his arm before throwing it right at Naruto. With his back turned to the group while looking for a way to escape, he did not see the spiraling weapon heading straight for his back. Thud. And with that, Naruto's eyes widened at the sudden contact the shuriken had with his back before turning his head around to see it sticking out of his back. Naruto then started to collapse towards the river and finally falling into the river, being swept away from the mob of ninjas with the weapon still sticking out of his back, with his body lying limp at the mercy of the current. The group cheered. Finally, the accursed demon is dead, and they are now freed from having to watch the demon as he walked down the roads without a care in the world, or spouting off how he would become Hokage, which to them was the worst of sins, imaging him corrupting their village with his demon self. Turning around, the group headed back to the village, hoping to bring forth the good news to the rest of the village that they would no longer have to fear for their families with the demon brat now dead and their yondaime avenged. Hokage's office. Hiruzen Sarutobi was current facing his long-time worst enemy while sitting behind his desk inside his office. That enemy being the one every Kage must face: paperwork. Sigh, when will I ever be free from this accursed paperwork? Maybe I should go visit Naruto, that'll give me a little reprieve while allowing me to see how the young boy is doing, though the Hokage with a smile on his face. When all of a sudden the doors to his office burst open with a bang. Hiruzen was about to shout at the one who would so rudely enter his office before seeing a wide-eyed and panicking Kakashi standing in the open doorway. The anger he felt moments ago went away just as quickly as they arrived after seeing how Kakashi was acting. Kakashi was usually a calm and lazy Jounin who had a habit of being late by hours, but he would never be seen panicking as he was now. "Kakashi, what's the matter?" asked a concerned Hiruzen. "It's Naruto, sir. Some ninja just arrived saying how they chased the demon brat outside the village and finally ridded the village of the demon," said a still panicking Kakashi. After hearing what the ninja said, he immediately confronted the said ninja, demanding answers for what they were saying. They proudly told him how they chased the demon outside of the village before cornering him at a river before one of them impaled him through the back with a Fuma shuriken before his body was swept away by the river they cornered him at. All the while, one of the ninja was looking extremely proud at the mention of how the shuriken had killed the demon brat, allowing Kakashi to figure out who was responsible for the death of his sensei's son. Chidori. And with that, the culprit for Naruto's death was now dead at his feet with a smoking hole where his heart should have been. Before any of the other ninja could come out of the shock that all of them fell into after seeing the hero, for the demon brat's death being brutally murdered right in front of them, Kakashi was already gone heading straight for the Hokage Tower. He couldn't believe that Naruto was dead, so he decided to go see the Hokage to gather some umbu and jounin to go search for the young blonde. To say Hiruzen was shocked was an understatement. He was at a loss of words before snapping out of it. "Umbu," said Hiruzen before a group of umbu appeared before the god of shinobi. "Half of you follow Kakashi to where the ninja said they cornered Naruto, the other half of you bring me the ones that claim to be the ones responsible for his death." With that, all the umbu and Kakashi vanished from his office. "Please no, please don't let Naruto be dead," were the thoughts of the Sandaime as he sat back in his chair, a horror-struck look stuck on his face. He quickly wiped the look of his face as a second later the umbu returned with the ones guilty for his Sagat's grandson's death, if what they said is true. The group of ninja were about to complain at how they were being treated after saving the village from the demon brat before they all shrank back from the killing intent that was being unleashed by the aged Hokage. "Tell me exactly what happened and what made you decide to chase after and kill a citizen of this village," demanded the Hokage with his killing intent still flooding the room, even starting to make the umbu start to sweat even though the Ki wasn't being directed at them. WWL Surus and a group of civilians were chasing after the demon Bradash. Before he could even finish the word, his head had already been decapitated from his shoulders, with the Hokage now standing next to the headless corpse with a bloody kunai in his hand. "I believe there is still a law stating that the mention of said topic will lead to death," glared the Hokage, giving the rest of the ninjas in the room a look that said if they should even think the word demon brat they would lose their lives. "Now will someone else tell me what it is I wish to know?" stated the Hokage while reeling in some of the killing intent that he released when he decapitated the ninja a few seconds ago, allowing the ninja to regain the ability to breathe, which they had lost after the pure amount of fear they felt under all the Ki the Sandaime was releasing. With a deep breath, another ninja started to pick up where the other left off without mentioning the taboo word. "LL like H, he was saying you us and so's. Some civilians we were chasing AFFFF tur Naruto, the ev of everybody but us, headed back to the village. While we continued to chase him before cornering him at a river before one of us threw a Fufuma shuriken at his back, which then impaled him and SSS sent him into the Ara river before he was washed away with the shuriken still SS stuck in his back." Throughout the story, Hiruzen was glaring at the group of ninjas until near the end he had to control himself to near godlike levels to stop himself from ripping the heads off of every one of the ninjas before him. "Get them out." The ninja were starting to feel hopeful until he continued with what he was saying. "Send them to the prisons until tomorrow, for when they will be publicly executed for murder of a fellow Konoha citizen." With that, the ninjas were dragged out of the Hokage's office by the umbu towards the prison where they would spend their last night among the living. When everyone but the Hokage was out of the room, Kakashi reappeared in front of Hiruzen's desk. Hiruzen had a small ember of hope that he found Naruto wounded but alive to where he could be saved. But the hope flickered away after seeing Kakashi's face. "I'm sorry, but we couldn't find his body. We did find the river and a spot of blood where Naruto must have been standing when he was hit, but we couldn't find anything else," Kakashi stated with a defeated look and voice. "I see. Please leave, I need to be alone," Hiruzen stated, getting an understanding nod from Kakashi, who like he also wished to be alone to face the facts that Naruto was gone and most likely dead. That night Kakashi drank himself to sleep just like he did after the deaths of his team and the death of his sensei. Hiruzen, now being alone in his office, brought out a bottle of sake and a cup before filling said cup to begin to try to drink away the bottomless amount of despair he was feeling right now. With a look towards a picture of the Yondaime Hokage, Hiruzen allowed a tear to escape. Tears that had not seen the light of day in many years since he was a ninja had finally been released after seeing the picture of Naruto's father, which seemed to be looking back at him. "I'm sorry. I failed you, Minato," Hiruzen whispered before the despair engulfed him that had been building up at the news of Naruto's death. Unknown area. Naruto was sinking with water all around him with his eyes closed, going head first towards wherever the water was taking him. His body then begun to even out with his eyes starting to open only for him to continue flipping until he landed on his feet. He seemed to find himself landing on a solid surface still underwater with nothing else in sight. He started to look around only to find himself alone with darkness surrounding him. He took a step forward only for light to shine through where to try to step on only for him to pull his foot back and set it to where it was before. The light started to widen with the darkness on the ground, moving only for what he thought to be darkness appeared to be doves flying away from where they once were. Looking around, he saw doves all around him rising from the ground, all flying up to who knows where. When Naruto took another look around with all the doves now gone, he found himself standing on a circular platform depicted of a beautiful woman with dark hair held by a red hairband, while wearing a yellow, white, and blue dress while holding a red apple in her hand. Surrounding the woman were the faces of 7 weird-looking men. Then words appeared in his mind. So much to do. So little time. Take your time. Don't be afraid. The door is still shut. Now step forward. Can you do it? Naruto started to walk forward as if answering the question that the words asked him. Once he reached near the middle of the platform, he started to slow himself down while looking around him, until he finally stopped in the middle of the platform still looking around. To his left, a podium appeared with a black shield with a red border and 3 red circles, one big one in the middle, while 2 small ones connect to the top left and right of the bigger circle. Power sleeps within you. To his right, another podium appeared with a small stick with the same 3 circles connected to the stick, but this time blue. If you give it form. In front of him, a third and last podium appeared with a sword with a white blade, a yellow guard with a red gem in the middle with a blue hilt, and on the gem were the 3 circles again, but this time black. It will give you strength. Choose well. Naruto went first to the sword. When he picked it up, the words again appeared in his head. The power of the warrior. Invincible courage. A sword of terrible destruction. Naruto then went over to the shield and picked it up, and like with the sword, the words appeared again. The power of the guardian. Kindness to aid friends. A shield to repel all. Finally, he went over to the weird stick and picked it up. The words like the other 2 appeared again in his head. The power of the mystic. Inner strength. A staff of wonder and ruin. After looking at all 3 of the objects upon the podiums, he headed back over to the sword and picked it up. The words again appeared. Is this the power you seek? Deciding that it was indeed the power he wanted so that he would never be filled with fear of death from being chased and instead having the power to fight back. The words appeared again as if in response to his choice. Your path is set. Now what will you give up in exchange? Now Naruto looked at the other 2, trying to figure out which of the 2 to give up before a sad look crossed his face. He headed over to the shield and decided that as the thing he wished to give up. For why would he have need of the shield if there was nothing or no one to protect? While in the village, no one wished to be close to him except a select few, but besides them the rest avoided him like the plague and glared at him. He had no one for him to call precious to him except maybe the Hokage, and maybe some people he would hang out with while in the village, but now that he's no longer in the village, there wouldn't be a way for him to protect them anyway. Once he again picked up the shield, the words appeared. You give up this power? Stealing his resolve, he decided that this was the power that was not meant for him and gave it up. With the shield gone, he felt a part of him die off, for now he truly felt alone. As if to prove him wrong, the words again appeared. You've chosen the power of the warrior. You've given up the power of the guardian. Is this the form you choose? The question seemed to be as if to give him another chance to choose another path, but with his resolve set, he decided that this would be the path he would follow. The podiums then begun to sink back into the ground from whence they came. The floor begun to shatter, and with the floor now gone he begun to fall into the black abyss beneath him. He kept falling and falling with no bottom seeming to come to end his free fall. Then suddenly behind him he spots another platform before him with a depiction of another woman, this time in a pale blue and purple dress that looked almost pure white. His free fall begun to slow down before he landed safely on his feet without any harm coming to his being, showing no signs of how fast he was falling, moments before which surely would have ended in his death. The sword appeared in his hand with a flash of light, and not a second later the words filled his head again. "You've gained the power to fight." Naruto took a test swing with the sword he had chosen. After he regained himself from his swing, the words reappeared. "All right, you've got it. Use this power to protect yourself and others." A shadow then appeared on the floor with the words still appearing in his head. "There will be times you have to fight." The shadow then rose out of the ground as a small humanoid being with two antennas on its head, with pure yellow eyes in a hunched-over position. Then a second shadow appeared before him next to the first one, beginning to rise out of the ground just like the first one. "Keep your light burning strong." More and more of the weird monsters began to appear. Naruto then readied himself for the fight to come. The first monster closest to him leapt to attack him, but Naruto leapt and charged straight at the monster, taking a swing at the monster. Performing a combo starting off with an upward swing followed by a downward one, he knocked the monster back towards the ground. He then begun to circle around the monsters, trying to gather them into one spot while dodging their swipes from their claws. He then begun to perform horizontal swings that would hit multiple monsters from just a single swing, which allowed him to hit all the monsters that he had gathered into the spot in front of him. After performing a spinning horizontal swing that took out multiple monsters, the rest started to back up. They then sunk back into the floor and disappearing from sight. Behind him, a single one of the monsters appeared, as if to secretly dispatch the one it sees as its enemy. Fortunately, the words appeared again to warn him. "Behind you." Naruto proceeded to turn around to confront the monster that wished to seek harm to him from behind. Once the monster was spotted, more started to appear, as if knowing that the plan had failed and wished to overcome him through numbers. Naruto then faced the one closest to him and thrust his sword out in a straight jab before following up with a vertical slash downward. Then, using the momentum from the slash, he spun around, slashing the monster in a backhanded horizontal slash, dispatching the foe. He then dispatched the other foes in a similar fashion with seemingly successful results, proving that his method of fighting was working. The way he was fighting with a weapon that he had never used before would amaze anyone who would have seen him at how freely he seemed to be using the weapon, allowing attack to flow into the follow-up attack, seemingly to never end, as if fighting like a master, be it ground or aerial combat. The monsters may have been easy to dispatch with limited number of attacks, but they were hard to catch since it seemed they could sink back into the ground and move around, making it impossible for him to hit them until they rose back from the ground. Just as sudden as they came, they sunk back into the ground, covering to floor in darkness until every spot on the floor was nothing but darkness, which then proceeded to drag him down. He tried to struggle to free himself, but nothing seemed to work until finally he sunk straight down through the floor. Now he was entirely surrounded by darkness, which he tried to fight off, trying to free himself with no avail. Then, as if he wished it to, all the darkness faded away for him to find himself laying down on another platform, this time depicting a heart. When he finally reoriented himself, got back up on his feet to find a door on the other side of the platform with a light shining down upon the door. He headed towards the door and tried to open it, but to no avail. Then behind him another light shined down on the other side of the platform, and with a flash of light an intricately designed chest appeared. He opened the chest, but only to find it empty. With another flash of light, a crate appeared in the middle of the platform. He then broke open the crate to find some type of weird green liquid in a glass. Part of the door shined and became more solid from its seemingly transparent look. In another flash off to his right, a barrel appeared. Breaking the barrel like he broke the crate, the rest of the door became solid. With the door now solid, he then proceeded to open the previously inaccessible door. He then took a step back as the door started to open in front of him, only for light to start shining through the opening door. Shielding his eyes, he walked towards the light and through the door to find himself in the academy back in Konoha with 3 people in the classroom. First, there was Irika, his sensei and surrogate older brother, who always seemed to look out for him. Irika then asked him a question. What's most important to you? To Naruto, there seemed to be 3 answers that came to mind, being number 1, friendship, and his prized possessions. After carefully thinking over the 3 answers, he finally decided on friendship because even though there were not many who wished to be his friend, he decided that the small amount that were his friends were most important to him. Is friendship such a big deal? Irika questioned him. He then walked over to the second person, who happened to be his surrogate grandfather, Hiruzen. Hiruzen then proceeded to ask him, "What do you want out of life?" Again, to Naruto, 3 things came to mind: to see rare sights, to broaden his horizons, or to be strong. Again, after much thought, he decided upon being strong for the same reasons he chose the sword, which seemed like ages ago, which instead happened to be just moments ago. To be strong, huh? Questioned Hiruzen. Finally, Naruto went to the third person, to which his surprise was a classmate of his whose name was Hinata. What surprised him, though, was that, unlike the other 2, which he knew very well, he had barely hung out with Hinata. Like the other 2, Hinata asked him a question. What are you afraid of? To him, like the last 2-3 answers immediately came to mind, being different, being indecisive, and being alone. Unlike the other 2, though, he was immediately able to figure out which of the 3 he was truly afraid of without having to think about it. The one which scared him the most was being alone, to have no one to care for or have no one to care about him. To be truly alone was what he was afraid of. Being alone? Is that really so scary? Hinata questioned his response like the other 2. Once he was done answering all 3 of the people before him, the words appeared again. You want friendship. You want to be strong. You're afraid of being alone. Your adventure begins at dawn. As long as the sun is shining, your journey should be a pleasant one. Then everything turned to light, blinding his eyes before he found himself on another platform. This time the platform had another beautiful woman in a purple dress with long blonde hair, while holding a rose in both hands up to her chest. All around her she was surrounded by thorns. Naruto started to walk to the other side of the platform until he reached the head of the woman on the platform. Behind him the monster's form before started to appear again. He pulled out his sword, preparing for combat again. Before he knew it, the monsters arose from the ground in a circle around him, making him completely surrounded. He charged at the first one in front of him, taking it out with a thrust and 2 horizontal slashes before turning around with a backhanded slash, pushing back one that was trying to sneak upon him. With the monster's guard down, he charged with an overhead chop, dispatching it like so many before it. With 2 down, he had 4 more before him to take out. He then leapt at one of the shadows before him, coming down with a powerful downward thrust strong enough to take the foe out with 1 hit. With himself crouched towards the ground, he then performed an upward thrust on the one beside him, knocking it up towards the air, where he soon followed it, performing to quick slash, dispatching it before nimbly landing on his feet, his eyes already focused on his next enemy. He then performed 2 powerful slashes horizontally, the first one knocking their guard away by countering the swipes they tried to perform on him, before following up with a second one, taking them both out with a single swipe now that their guard was gone. Once all the monsters were defeated, a ray of light shined down, creating a small circle of light upon the platform. He walked over to the circle of light until he was standing directly on top of it, and now that he was close enough to see, he saw that the light was in fact a pale green color. The circle of light under him started to move to the other side of the platform, where smaller square multicolored platforms appear, looking as if they were made out of glass. Platform after platform appeared at a fast rate, creating a path for him that led to what seemed to be another platform like the one he was standing upon. He then walked upon the seemingly fragile path until he reached the other platform. Once he reached the platform, he saw that this platform, like the others, depicted a beautiful woman in a pure yellow dress. While walking forward, the words again appeared in his head. The closer you get to the light, the greater your shadow becomes. Turning his head, he saw his own shadow extended behind him. His shadow then, like the monsters from before, began to rise from the floor. Shocked, he took a step back from his shadow, which continues to rise from the ground, growing bigger and bigger. But don't be afraid. The shadow started to take on a monstrous form, look nothing like him now, and it took a step as its body became more defined. And don't forget, its face, now fully developed, was pitch black with yellow eyes with long hair like tentacles moving all around its head, while the lower part of its mouth was covered by what seemed to be a scarf as black as the rest of its body. Naruto then began to run away from the abomination, only to come to a stop at the far edge of the platform, almost falling off, only to see a pitch-black abyss that seemed to never end. Turning around, he sees the monster rising from a hunched-over position, rising until it was standing straight and tall. Its upper body had a large hole which looked to be shaped as a heart. On its back were two small like wings made out of the same black inky substance as the rest of its body. Readying his sword, he prepared for a fight that would be unlike the rest from the look of things. He first charged at the monster, then jumped up and performed an overhead slash at the monster's left hand, doing seemingly no damage. Trying to follow up with an upward swipe, the monster moves its hand out of the way while charging up a dark ball in its right hand before pulling his right arm back, then proceeded to smash it into the ground. Where his hand hit the ground started to become dark and an inky black color. Taking the moment that the monster's hand was in reach, he charged the monster's right hand and performed a downward slash, followed up by a straight thrust which was finished by a spinning backhanded slash. Once he finished up the three-hit combo, the smaller monsters started to appear again from the black hole that the giant created. Naruto then started to perform wide horizontal slashes so he could hit both the giants and while destroying the smaller monsters. Once the smaller ones were all gone, he started to completely focus upon the giant's hand again. The monster then stood back up while more of the smaller monsters seemed to fall from the sky. Naruto then started to dispatch the smaller ones while the giant seemed to be out of reach for him to do any damage. The monster then knelt down, allowing Naruto access to the monster's hands again. But it seemed from the heart-shaped hole an orb of darkness appeared, which then proceeded to shoot out phantasm-like beings that would then ram into Naruto while he was attacking the monster. It seemed though that all the damage that Naruto was dealing out to the monster was adding up, though, as the monster seemed like it was about to be defeated. Like as if he had foreseen the future, the damage had finally been too much for the monster. So in a last-ditch effort, the monster tried to take a swipe at Naruto, which he successfully dodged, but not without losing his balance. Falling on his backside, Naruto could only watch as his sword disappeared and the monster was standing before him in all its might, about to deliver what seemed to be the end. Underneath Naruto, a small circle of darkness appeared beneath him without him noticing, and the words appeared yet again. But don't be afraid. The darkness started to rise up and engulf him while the words continued on. You hold the mightiest weapon of all. Naruto tried to fight the darkness, but like before, it seemed to have no effect as it continued to engulf him. All the while the giant just watched, and finally his whole body was engulfed in the darkness as he lost consciousness. Location unknown, when Naruto first found himself on the first platform. Next to Naruto's body, which had been washed up back on land with the Fuma Shuriken still sticking out of his body, a portal of darkness appeared, and out of the portal a man whose entire body was covered by a black cloak stepped out. Organization 13 Cloak. I wonder what world this is. It surely isn't one I've been to before, the man stated to himself while looking around trying to figure out where he has ended up at. He then heard a moan of what sounded to be of a person in pain coming from below him. Looking down, his eyes widened at what he saw. For below him was a young-looking boy with blonde hair in an orange jumpsuit laying face down on the dirt, completely drenched, with a giant shuriken sticking out of his back. The man quickly knelt down to see if he could help the kid at all, but while kneeling down he felt the presence of a keyblade bearer near him. Looking around him, he tried to catch sight of anyone near, but after failing to see anyone, he looked back down at the boy. It can't be, can it? The man mumbled to himself. He placed a hand on the boy's back with using his other hand to grab the giant shuriken, and with one quick jerk and pulled it right out of the boy's back. Checking for a pulse, he concluded that the boy was indeed still alive in what seemed to be a fatal blow. He flipped the boy over while pulling his hood off to get a better look at the boy. The person under the hood had long, messy silver hair with a black blinder covering his eyes. Quickly pulling the blinder up for a fraction of a second to get a look at the boy, he then pulled the blinder back over his eyes while standing back up with the boy in his arms. Well, it seems like wherever I am, I seems like I was meant to be here if the boy has a keyblade, he stated before walking off to the nearest settlement. What he didn't notice though was that the whiskered boy's back started to heal. Chapter 2. Homecoming. Location unknown. Naruto groggily opened his eyes, trying to blink away sleep from his eyes. Looking around, he found himself in a small room with himself lying on a bed. Pulling the sheets off, he found himself shirtless with a bandage wrapped around his midsection. With the sight of the bandages, the memories from before he fell unconscious entered his mind. Eyes widening in fear, he looked around for any signs of danger or ninjas that have come to try to hurt him again. Seeing no signs of danger, he allows himself to relax before turning his thoughts onto the weird dream he had. Was it even a dream? It felt so real, and I could have sworn I felt pain when getting hit by those monster-looking things. I mean, where would I even be able to imagine all that stuff from? He thought, checking his body for any bruises in places he was hit during the dream, only to find no signs of any bruises. Either it really was a dream, or I've been out of it long enough for the bruises to heal, he concluded after seeing the lack of bruises. He then swung his legs over the edge of the bed and started to try to stand up, emphasis on the try as his legs were wobbly, making it hard for him to keep his balance. After a few seconds of trying to fight over control for his seemingly useless legs, which he ended up losing as he fell backwards back onto the bed. Sigh. Well, I guess I just gotta either wait for my legs to regain feeling or hope somebody comes to check on me. He mumbled to himself, trying to figure out what to do. After a few minutes of waiting, the door to the room started to open, and though the door came a person entirely covered in a black cloak. I see you're awake. Tell me, how do you feel? The man questioned. After a few seconds, to which Naruto decided the man wasn't hostile, he then answered, I feel fine, except I can't really seem to stand at the moment. The man nodded in understanding. I'm surprised you're awake, let alone able to move as you can now after seeing a giant shuriken sticking out of your back, to which should have been fatal. Then cloaked figure commented. Rubbing the back of his neck, Naruto started to explain. Well, I've always been a fast healer, so that probably explains why I'm healthy like I am now. The man seemed to be interested in the boy's seemingly incredible healing capabilities, but decided to set it off to the side for the moment to ask an even more important question. So, how exactly did you come to have a giant shuriken sticking out of your back? Naruto seemed to be hesitant on answering the question, which the stranger seemed to pick up on when he commented. You don't have to tell me, but it would be helpful to know why I ended up saving a boy from what seemed to be attempted murder. Naruto's head shot up at the mention of the man being his savior. With a sigh, he prepared himself to explain what had led him into his current predicament. I was running from some shinobi from my village, who then cornered me near a river. One of the ninjas from the group then threw and impaled me with the Fuma shuriken, and with both the momentum of the throw and my loss of feeling in my body, I collapsed forward to be swept away by the river. The man seemed to think over what the boy had told him, which also seemed to explain why the boy was near a river while completely drenched. With a nod, he then moved on to the next topic of interest. Tell me, do you know what a keyblade is? The only answer he got, though, was a confused look, which was enough to tell the man that the boy had never even heard of the word, much less know what it is. I'm sure I feel the presence of a keyblade radiating from him, but it seems he has yet to summon it, the stranger thought. What's your name? He questioned after figuring out he still didn't know the boy's name. Isn't it polite to give your own name before asking for someone else's, and besides, what's with the hood? I can't even see your face, Naruto commented in return. With a smirk, the man then proceeded to lower his hood, allowing the boy to see his face. Riku. All he got in return was a confused glance. My name, was his only answer to the boy. It seemed the boy finally understood what he meant, if the look of understanding was anything to go by. Naruto. The boy smirked back. My name. The boy responded back as if taking a jab at how Riku presented his own name. Can you stand yet? Riku asked the boy. Gimme a sec, let me try again, was his answer when he again tried to stand again, this time having more success than the last try. Finally on his feet with a few mishaps, he grinned at Riku, allowing him to see a bit of his personality, as in his stubborn personality. With a nod, Riku turned around. Follow me, was the only thing he said before walking out of the room. Naruto, not wanting to be left behind, exited the room to follow after Riku. After following Riku out of the house and into the yard in front of the seemingly abandoned house, Riku then turned around to again face Naruto. I asked you before if you knew what a keyblade was, though from your expression I could conclude that you don't, so I will now tell you. Not that I'm complaining, but why do I have to know what a keyblade is? Naruto questioned in confusion at the still unfamiliar word. The reason you need to know what a keyblade is because I can sense the presence of a keyblade radiating from you, was Riku's reply, earning himself a shocked look from Naruto. Wait, how do I have this keyblade thing if I don't even know what it is? He asked him with the look of shock still on his face after learning that he may have acquired something he didn't even know about. The keyblade isn't really something you just pick up off the ground, Riku commented to the boy's question. No, the keyblade is a power that is awakened in a select few. Currently I know of 2 people besides myself who can wield the keyblade. Riku's thoughts strayed to the image of his friend Sora and the King Mickey, but then another person came to mind, the boy named Roxas, but he decided not to include him because the boy was basically able to use his power because he was Sora's nobody. A power that's awakened, what does he mean by that? Though Naruto before his dream from before came to mind. Could that have anything to do with the keyblade Riku kept mentioning? Hey Riku, how does a person go about awakening their keyblade? Naruto questioned, trying to see if he indeed did awaken to some mysterious power from the realistic dream he had. Well, most people awaken the power of the keyblade when they are presented with a difficult journey presented before them. Riku answered, trying to gather his thoughts to figure out how to explain this to him. Does a dream have anything to do with awakening the keyblade? Naruto hesitantly asked, hoping not to make a fool of himself. Riku's head then snapped, facing Naruto while looking him in the eyes to see if he was really telling the truth. Seeing no hints of him lying, he then answered, yes, sometimes the power can be awakened in what seems to be a dream where the keyblade wielder must make choices that could greatly affect the wielder. Heh, sounds like the dream I had choices and all. Naruto muttered, now learning the truth of the dream. So I guess I really do have a keyblade, but how do I use it? He questioned after coming to terms with him now wielding some mysterious power. Riku tried to think it over on how to summon the keyblade, because now to him it's become second nature to the point he doesn't really even have to think about it. I guess you could try thinking about something important to you and wanting the power to protect that which is important to you, then focus all those thoughts and emotions and try to summon the strength that will allow you to achieve it. Naruto then closed his eyes and thoughts of what was truly precious to him. Then several faces appeared, including Hokagejiji, Taiuchi, Ayam, and Irika. Now with those people in his thoughts, he tried to bring up a feeling of wanting to protect them which flared as if waiting for him to call upon it. Now trying to bring forth the strength to protect them, he focuses the power and strength he feels into his hand, and with a flash of light he was holding what seemed to be a giant key. The keyblade that was summoned shocked Riku and quickly caught his entrance. The kingdom key, the same one used by the king and also the first keyblade Sora acquired. This boy indeed does have a challenging destiny ahead of him, although that seems to come with the territory of being a keyblade bearer. Naruto was looking at the weapon he had summoned with a funny look before a look of understanding crossed his face. No wonder it's called a keyblade, the thing's a giant freaking key. The kingdom key, huh? Riku commented out loud, catching Naruto's attention. Kingdom key? I thought it was called the keyblade, unless… Does he mean there's different types of keyblades? Naruto then decided to voice the question that crossed his mind. When you say kingdom key, do you mean there are other types of keyblades? Riku was shocked at how the boy came to that outcome, even though it's correct with him just saying one thing. Yes, there are different types of keyblades, and some people can actually wield several different types. He commented before seeing a look of wonder cross the young blonde's face. You see that chain attached to the bottom of the keyblade, and indeed did see a chain attached to the keyblade with the end being the 3 circles he saw in his dream, further fortifying the theory that the dream was his awakening. If you acquire more chains, you can swap them out to use different keyblades, each one with different abilities. For instance, the kingdom key has an ability called Defender, meaning that whenever the wielder is stuck in pinch, your defense will rise, and you will end up taking less damage. There are also some people who can wield multiple keyblades at once, but the only person I know who can do it needs some outside assistance to do so, Riku stated, further enthralling Naruto into what is known as the keyblade. Once Riku finished explaining, he then reached his hand out before him, then with a flash of light his own keyblade appeared. Well, now that that's out of the way, let's see if you can use that thing and what other abilities you have, Riku stated before getting in a ready stance. Naruto soon followed him in his own ready stance that greatly shocked Riku. That stance is the same as Sora's. With both of them smirking, they charged at each other, keyblades at the ready. Time skip 1 year. Outside Konoha. A figure dressed in a black cloak, just like Riku's, was standing a little ways away from Konoha, while staring at the hidden village with memories of the village coming to the surface of his mind. Konoha. It's been a while. Hey, exactly a year in fact. Then a portal of darkness appeared before the cloaked figure. Well, I guess it's time I go see how Gigi's doing. Oh, and Irika too. Heck, can't wait to get to Ichiraka's. I haven't been able to find anything nearly as good. And with that, the figure stepped into the portal, with the portal disappearing once he was through. Hokage's office. Hiruzen was sitting in his chair with a bottle of sake next to him, drinking away the pain of what this day brought to the front of his mind. For today was the day his surrogate grandson had lost his life. Damn it, Naruto, why'd you have to die? You have done nothing to deserve what you've been through, nor did you deserve the death you received. On the day of Naruto's death, Sarutobi had the ones responsible sent to Ibiki and Anko to get the information out of them of who the others were that helped chase Naruto out of the village. Right when he was so close to exacting the justice that Naruto deserved, the damned civilian council stepped in and made impossible for him to find out the truth. Right when he was reaching for his cup, darkness rose from the floor, creating what looked like some type of portal. The Hokage was beyond shocked, for he, the one known as the professor, had never even heard nor seen of any jutsu that could accomplish such a feat. But he suddenly became on guard when a person stepped through the portal, with the portal closing behind them and disappearing. The person was covered in a pitch-black cloak that made it impossible for anything else to be seen, making it impossible to identify the figure. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" demanded the Hokage, wondering if he was under attack from some type of assassin. "Ah, come on, Gigi, lighten up some," chuckled the figure. Hiruzen froze the moment those words were said, but more in particular one word affected him the most. "Gigi, only 2 people have ever called me that, and I know for a fact this isn't Konohamaru. That only leaves one other person, but he's dead. But then again, his body was never found. See, could it be Ena Naruto?" questioned the old man, with hope flaring inside of him, just hoping that this person could be him. Hi Gigi, it's been a while," the figure said while he pulled off his hood. What Hiruzen saw was a face he thought he would never see again, for before him was a kid with long spiky blonde hair. His hair is the same as Riku's from Kingdom Hearts 2, just blonde, with 3 whisker marks on each cheek. But he did not see the ocean blue eyes that he knew so well, for covering Naruto's eyes was a black blinder. Again, same blinder Riku has in Kingdom Hearts 2. In a split second, Hiruzen was up from his desk and hugging his surrogate grandson, who he thought was long dead by now. Naruto was not surprised at the sudden contact. Instead, he just hugged him back while having a small smile on his face, for after a long year he was finally home. Time skip 5 minutes later. Once Hiruzen got most of his emotions back under control, he was now sitting behind his desk, not taking his eyes off of Naruto, as if he were to look away for even a second he would disappear. "Naruto, how are you alive?" The Hokage could only ask, for standing before him was someone who was stated dead a year ago. Well, a year ago when I was impaled in the back. Hiruzen winced at the mention of what happened a year ago, and was swept up by the river. I was brought back ashore and found by a man named Riku. He then brought me to a place to recover while I was healing from the stab wound. Once I was finally healed, he asked me how I came to even have the wound. So after telling him what happened, he offered to train me. Hiruzen could only raise an eyebrow at how this man named Riku trained Naruto. I wonder what Naruto was taught. He could only wonder. For the next 8 months, Riku trained me until he had to leave. Then for the next 4 months, I spent mastering my skills that I was taught while wandering the fire country, Naruto explained. Hiruzen could only nod at the information that Naruto supplied him, but then Naruto asked him a question that he should have actually seen coming. "So Gigi, can I go back to the academy to become a ninja again?" Hiruzen had to think what to do, for in a week the genin exams would be upon the class that Naruto was original part of. He could either allow Naruto to take the genin exam or hold him back a year so he could make up for the lost time. He decided to ask Naruto if he thought he was ready to try such a task. "Naruto, in the class you were previously attending, they are about to take the genin exam, so here are the choices I present you. You could either take the genin exams if you think you are ready, or be held back a year to make up for the lost time. I believe this mainly focuses though on whether you think the training this Rika person you mentioned has prepared you enough to attend the exam." Naruto was ecstatic at the mention of him being able to take the genin exams, because quite frankly he far surpassed the academy level at his current level of power. At his current level, he could pass all the exams with probably top records without even trying. I'll try my hand at the Genin exams, GG, was the obvious answer from Naruto, who would have probably taken the exam even if he wasn't at his current level. Though he could pass the exams with flying color at the moment, he wanted to try to stay out of the center of attention and try to keep how strong he is a secret for as long as possible, for who knows how people could react if they learned of how strong he currently was. Hiruzen smiled at the young blonde's answer, then grabbed a piece of paper before writing something down. Finished with whatever he was doing, he then folded it up and handed it over to Naruto. I think it's about time you go say hi to Iruka. I'm sure he will be beyond happy at knowing that you're still alive. While you see him, give him that note. It's basically a permission note to allow you to attend the Genin exams even though you've been gone. With a nod from Naruto, who looked happy at the thought of visiting his surrogate older brother, Naruto pulled his hood back over his face before asking Hiruzen a question. Is it alright for me to just walk down the roads? I'm pretty sure many people will think they've seen a ghost. Hiruzen gained a thoughtful look, trying to figure a way out of this predicament before he remembered how Naruto first arrived. Hey Naruto, do you think you can get to Iruka, though the same way you got here, which by the way you will have to explain to me sometime? With a sheepish look, Naruto then summoned forth another portal of darkness before walking thought it all the while the Hokage watched on in stunned silence. I seriously can't wait for when he explains to me how the hell he did that, he thought before turning his mind towards other matters like the announcement of Naruto's return. Hiruzen then called in his secretary. Once she was in, he ordered her to set a council meeting up including both the shinobi and civilian side. Although he wished he could leave the civilian side out of it, he knew that Naruto was still a civilian and not yet a ninja. Ninja Academy. After class. Iruka was currently sitting behind his desk, either grading or filling out paperwork that was related to his class. In fact, though, he was actually doing more work than was necessary and could have left a while ago, but for now he was trying to drown himself in work to keep his mind from wandering to what happened a year ago. Iruka finished the paper he was currently filling out and put his pen down. Damn it, I would give anything just for one of his pranks, at least then he would still be around. About to work on the next sheet of paper, he was instead in for a shock as a portal of darkness rose from the ground in front of his desk, leaving him wide-eyed with a surprised look on his face. Out of the portal stepped a figure clothed in a black cloak that covered him from head to toe, showing no skin at all, not even the face, which was currently covered by a hood. Hey Iruka-sensei, long time no see, the figure said to him, further shocking him on how he was addressed. I am sorry, but are you one of my students? Questioned the teacher, completely confused. If only he could see the person's face, then maybe he could figure out what's going on. Hope you haven't forgotten me. I mean, it's only been a year. Maybe I gotta give you some incentive to remember me by, chuckled the figure, making an all too familiar shiver run down his spine that he would only get after hearing the exploits of the master prankster of his class. Before his eyes, the figure pulled his hood back for Iruka to see the same boy who always slept through his class or played pranks around the village only for him to chase after him. And in Naruto, no, it can't be. I must have worked harder than I thought, and now I'm hallucinating. He tried to reason to himself, coming up with no other reason at seeing the supposedly dead blonde before his eyes. Sorry sensei, but me and my pranks aren't that easy to get rid of. Speaking of which, I gotta make up for lost time. The blonde finished with a menacing cackle, seemingly planning out many pranks to make up to lost time. And Naruto, how are you alive? Iruka said, but only came out as a whisper, still trying to regain his senses and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Naruto then told Iruka the same thing he told Hiruzen about being saved and trained. So why did you end up separating with that Rika person? Iruka questioned, wondering why Naruto's savior had to leave all of a sudden. Well, Riku had some unfinished business, I guess you could say, that he had been putting off for far too long. Naruto responded to his question. I'm pretty sure he said he had a friend who would soon need his help. Flashback: Riku's departure. Well, Naruto, I've taught you all I could teach you for the time being. Whatever you may learn is something you will have to learn through experience, Riku told Naruto. It had been 8 months since Riku had found Naruto and had begun his training with the Keyblade and several other things such as magic and basic knowledge of the Keyblade. As you know, I'm not from this world, but actually traveling from world to world, Riku said. Like he said, he had already explained that he was actually from a world called Destiny Island and long been traveling from world to world. So now that I'm leaving, what will you do, Naruto? He questioned, truly wondering what his student will do after his departure. Well, for the moment I plan to travel and get some of that experience you said I'll need. Then after some time of traveling I might head back to Konoha. Was his response, getting a surprised reaction from Naruto's wanting to return to Konoha. Even though a lot of the people seem to hate me there, even enough to try to kill me, there are still some people there who are important to me even now. Riku was extremely happy with Naruto's response. One of the main reasons was that hate for his village and what they had done to him hadn't controlled his life or his choices, and he still held on to what was precious to him. Well, that'll be one day of a homecoming, Riku said, already trying to imagine how the people of the village would react to the boy. No, wait, he could no longer be called a boy after all he's been through and the training and maturing he has gone through the past 8 months. He couldn't wait for them to react to this young man's newfound powers and abilities. Well, here Naruto, as a parting gift. Riku then proceeded to hand Naruto a charm. This allows you to summon a special kind of ally to fight alongside you in your time of need, or some other charms like this one can be used as a mode of transportation. The being that this charm summons is 2 Eidolons named the Shiva sisters. Naruto took the charm from Riku's outstretched hand and looked at it with wonder. To summon them, all you have to do is charge the charm with power and call upon them to aid you and they will appear. Riku explained to him how to use the strange charm. Goodbye Naruto, and good luck with your traveling. Same to you Riku-sensei, Naruto responded. With their goodbyes done, Riku then disappeared through a portal of darkness, leaving Naruto alone. Let's see how this works, Naruto mumbled to himself, looking at the charm. Following Riku's instructions, Naruto started to pump the charm with power, and with a cry of Shiva, a giant orb of water surrounded by strange markings appeared in front of him, and inside the orb were 2 metallic-looking women floating around a smaller orb. The 2 sisters burst out of the orb, with the orb disappearing, and proceeded to stand next to him. Wow, gotta say that was awesome, Naruto said, looking like a child on Christmas morning. All of a sudden, a small portal of darkness appeared next to Naruto. Once the portal disappeared, all that was left was a letter with something holding it down. Picking up the object and the letter, he then proceeded to read the letter. Dear Naruto, sorry, I almost forgot to give this to you. This here is another summoning charm, but unlike the one I gave you, this charm summons a being of unimaginable power. Only use this as a last resort when no other option is available. Even then, use it with extreme caution, for the being that is summoned may be too much for you to control. Sincerely, Riku. Naruto decided to have a better look at the charm that is supposed to summon forth something of immense power. Carefully, he put the charm in one of his many pouches alongside the charm of the Shiva sisters. Well, I'll have to be careful if I ever use that, he mumbled to himself before turning his attention to the 2 sisters beside him with a sweat drop. Now, how the heck is this supposed to be used as a mode of transportation? As if to answer him, the 2 sisters moved in front of him, combining together to form a motorcycle. Well, now that explains that. Now to test this out, he mumbled again to himself with stars in his eyes. Getting on, he then revved up the motorcycle before shooting off into the distance in unimaginable speeds. He thought impossible with his destination unknown. End flashback. He still hasn't found himself in any situations where he needed to use the dangerous summon, but uses the Shiva sisters in the motorcycle form any chance he can as a form of fast and extremely fun mode of transportation, although he has fought with them by his side many times just to gain experience in teamwork with the 2 when fighting. Oh yeah, Iruka-sensei, Gigi told me to give this to you, Naruto said while handing him the folded-up letter. Iruka's eyebrow shot up at seeing what the letter contained. Naruto, are you sure you want to try for the Genin exams? I mean, you've been gone for a year. Don't worry, sensei, I've been training for most of the time I've been gone. I'm pretty sure I can handle the Genin exams. Naruto chucked at his sensei's worry. Alright, if you're sure. Though please do attend the classes for the week before the exam, anything can help. Iruka cautioned him while getting a nod from Naruto. Alright. See ya later, sensei, I have some other people I need to go see that I haven't seen in a while, Naruto said cheerfully before disappearing in another portal of darkness. Damn it, I never got him to explain me what that is. Iruka cursed to himself at his forgetfulness. Memorial Stone. Kakashi was currently looking down upon the memorial stone which he would usually spend his time at since the death of his team and sensei, explaining his chronic lateness. With the death of Naruto, it seemed as if his habit had not lessened at all but increased, with him spending more and more of his time at the stone, but now his attention always seemed to be on the name of his sensei. Sensei, I know I've already said this many times, but I've failed you, Kakashi stated as if talking to his deceased sensei. I couldn't protect him, I just can't protect anyone, and now the damn civilian council and the two elders wants me to be a Jounin sensei to the Uchiha. To Kakashi, this was the worst choice they could have made. To him, he could never succeed in protecting anyone. Not his team, not his sensei, and not even his sensei's son. Behind Kakashi, a portal of darkness appeared and out stepped a figure completely clothed in a black cloak. It wasn't your fault, you know. Kakashi was caught completely surprised by the unknown man. With his focus completely on the memorial stone, his guard was completely down. The shock, though, quickly turned to anger once his mind registered what the person had said, though. What would you know? I couldn't do anything to save them, and now all of them are dead, he said with the last part barely hearable, as if to say to himself. Just because they couldn't be saved doesn't make it your fault someone died. It just means all you have to do is make sure you save everyone else who is important to you, so you don't have to face any more people you care about dying, the man said. But how can I save anyone? I've already failed before. What makes you think I'll succeed the next time someone's life is in danger? Kakashi demanded of the man, hoping the man actually has the answer. You get stronger. That's all you can do. Get stronger so no matter the situation you will be able to overcome it while saving all the people you care about, the man shared to Kakashi. Heh, get stronger, huh? Yeah, I guess that'll work. If only I was stronger before, though. If only was stronger, then maybe I could have saved everyone. My team, my sensei, even Naruto. The past is the past. No matter how much you wish or desire, the past will never change, the man stated. Kakashi knew this to be true, because no matter how much he hoped, those he cared for were still dead. But if it helps, I can show you something that may decrease the pain you feel. And with that, the man removes his hood and shows his face like he did to the Hokage and Irika. Long time no see, Kakashi. Again, Kakashi was shocked that he couldn't even find his voice anymore, for before him was one of the people he cared for who he thought was dead. The same blonde hair and whisker marks, but no longer could he see the blue eyes of his sensei's student, which were now covered by a black blinder, like how he uses his headband to cover his right eye. Finally, his voice returned to him. "Enin Naruto," he said before he pulled his headband off of his eye to truly see him with his Sharingan, fearful that this may just be some kind of sick prank through the use of henge or genjutsu. Naruto cocked an eyebrow at his Kakashi's action. Not because of the Sharingan, for he had already known about it along with his past, for the man had told him the story himself. Kakashi was one of the few people that actually cared for the boy and would stop by sometimes to see how he was doing, along with taking him out for ramen sometimes. Again, it was not the Sharingan itself that surprised him, it was how he revealed his Sharingan to him. But then understanding crossed his face. He decided to interrupt what he knew was coming, though. I know what you may be thinking. The genjutsu isn't to hide my identity, though, he revealed to Kakashi, who indeed did see a genjutsu surrounding the boy. Then explain to me, why do you have a genjutsu on you? But he did know it was Naruto, for the person in front of him had the same chakra signature as the boy. It's actually the same genjutsu that one of the Sannin uses on herself, if that helps you. Naruto responded, waiting for Kakashi to come up with a conclusion. Genjutsu, one of the Sannin uses? What does he mean by that? Okay, think Kakashi, he said she, so that immediately cancels out both Jiraiya and Orochimaru, so that leaves Tsunade. Now genjutsu that Tsunade uses. But that could only mean, why would he have to hide his age? Wait, before that he already looks the age he should be. Something doesn't make sense. Naruto, why do you need to use Tsunade-sama's genjutsu? You look like you're 12, which you are, well, maybe a little on the short side, but you still look 12. Kakashi questioned, which Naruto already expected, although a little annoyed on the short side comment. Here, gimme a sec, lemme remove the genjutsu. And with that, Naruto removed the genjutsu, now looking to be around 15 to 16 years old. Kakashi was speechless, for someone who should have been 12 now stood before him looking to be about 15, maybe 16 years old. Naruto, what happened to you? Why do you look like that? Naruto then proceeded to tell Kakashi the same thing that he told both Irika and the Hokage. That still doesn't explain why I look 16 years old. Well, it's actually a side effect of a jutsu I was taught. When used, it matures the body at a faster rate until the body is basically at the top of its performance, so once I reach about 21 years old, my body should stop aging due to the jutsu. Naruto responded to Kakashi's question. While Kakashi was thinking of any jutsu that he knows or has heard about that had such a side effect, damn, I've never even heard of such a jutsu, and I've copied about a 1,000 jutsus," were Kakashi's thoughts. Finally, though, it crossed his mind that this indeed was Naruto, although he looked older than he should have been, but it was still Naruto and he was alive. Kakashi then turned his head back to the memorial stone and looked at his sensei's name. Then he thought back to what Naruto said before he revealed his identity. "Get stronger, huh? Yeah, I guess I'll do just that, and this time I'll let no one else die," Kakashi thought to himself with his resolve now steeled. "Oh, by the way, Kakashi, I'm going to take the Genin test in a week," Naruto cheerfully said to Kakashi, happy that he will soon be a ninja just like Kakashi. Wait, did he just say he will take the Genin test in a week? Crossed Kakashi's mind. I'm pretty sure that arrogant Uchiha's taking the Genin test in a week. Maybe I can try to persuade the Hokage to get Naruto appointed to my team if he passes. Well, I gotta go, Kakashi. I still need to go get some sleep, Naruto said. Kakashi then looked around him surprised at how long he's been out standing before the stone and talking with Naruto, seeing as it was already pitch black outside. Alright, go get some sleep, Naruto. I've gotta go see the Hokage anyway. With that, Naruto started to walk back to where his apartment is. Wow, it's been a year since I've been back to that place. Ugh, I bet the place is a mess. With Naruto gone, Kakashi soon shunshined to the Hokage's office. Chapter 3. Rocking the Genin exam. Academy classroom. Okay, class, today we have a new, well, more like a returning student joining us for the rest of the week who will also be part of the up-and-coming Genin exam, Irika said to the rest of the class. Irika-sensei, what do you mean returning student? One of the students asked. Well, this person hasn't been to class for a year, but instead of retaking the year he missed, he will instead be rejoining this class and has permission to take the Genin exam, was Irika's answer. Alright, you can come in now. Through the door of the class, a person dressed in a blue short-sleeve shirt under a black short-sleeve jacket with black baggy pants with yellow straps wrapped around the legs and waist came through the door. Sora's outfit from Kingdom Hearts 2. Though what greatly shocked many of the students were not his clothes, but the person wearing the clothes. This person had an all too familiar blonde hair and whisker marks on both sides of his cheek. The name's Naruto Uzumaki, Databeo. On his face was an all too familiar grin, and on everybody else's face was a slack-jawed and stunned face. To some people, the death of the blonde didn't affect them at all. These people were usually the ones who would think badly of him because of how their parents would act towards him. Then there were some like Shikamaru, Chuji, and Kiba, who were saddened by the death of their friend. For some like Ino, it was a reality check. Someone who was always around just suddenly died, making her truly understand how easy it is to lose one's life. She started to truly think of how she has been acting and winces every time she thinks of how she treated the blonde. Then when her thoughts turned to how she's been fangirling to a certain Uchiha, she would again wince. When she truly thought of it, she had to wonder why she even liked the guy. To her, he seemed like a total jerk now. To others like Shino, who may have not known his classmate that well, felt a little saddened for Naruto, would always go out of his way to greet him even though most people ignore him because of his quietness. Then there was Hinata. Hinata was truly crushed at the revelation of the blonde's death. Her longtime crush that she always saw standing tall facing any challenge that came his way was no more. At the news of his death, she soon fell into a depression, not really talking to anyone anymore, and was either out training to drown out her emotions or in her room crying herself to sleep. Her father, though always seemingly cold to the young Hyuga heiress, was actually pretty distraught at how his daughter was affected at the news of the blonde's death. Hayashi may seem cold, but he only does it for two reasons. One, he hopes that being cold would give his daughter the strength to try to prove him wrong and gain the courage to stand on her own 2 feet. Two was the Hyuga elders. To them, emotions are looked upon as a form of weakness. Hayashi was already losing power over the clan to the elders, and he did not want to think what bold acts they may try if they saw him as weak. Hayashi was also affected by the news of the young blonde's death, for not only did he know about his daughter's secret crush on the blonde, but he actually was silently encouraging her to himself. The reason for this was that he had a very likely suspicion of who the boy's parents were. For the answer is quite obvious now that he thinks about it, making him question the village's intelligence. Get rid of the whisker marks and you have a miniature version of Minato the Yondaime Hokage, his deceased friend. That alone made him on the boy's side and tried to defend him. Then there was his mother, which is also quite obvious. In all of Konoha there has only been 2 Uzumakis besides the boy. Mito is obviously not the boy's mother, so that only leaves one person. Kushina Uzumaki, his deceased wife's friend. So to him, supporting the boy was not only to honor his deceased friend, but to also honor his deceased wife. Now back to the class, most of the people got over the news, most being the people who didn't care about the boy and deemed it not worth their attention, especially a certain Uchiha. Why would an elite Uchiha need to care about some dope being alive or dead? At least when he was dead, he didn't get in his way. The people who still had their attention on the Uzumaki decided to try to corner him after class and get answers to what happened. Naruto looked around trying to spot an empty seat, and he ended up seeing 2. One was near Sakura. Naruto had to stop himself from vomiting. How the hell did I find her attractive? Ugh. Then there was one next to a certain Hyuga heiress who was looking straight at him, as if she were to take her eyes off of him for even a second he would disappear and still be dead. Naruto let a small smile come to his face. With the maturing he went through for the year he was gone, he became less dense to love. With him being able to figure out someone's feelings over the trip, he always ended up face-palming himself when he thinks of how oblivious he was to the girl's huge crush on him. The first thing he decided to do when he got back was to be nicer to the girl and actually get to know her better to make up for all the times he missed the girl's advances and blushing moments. Sitting down next to her, he decided to say hello. "Hey, your name's Hinata, isn't it?" he questioned, already knowing the answer. Her response was a slow nod, as if her mind was trying to process what was happening. And as if she finally figured out the situation she was in, her face instantly was covered by a crimson blush. "And Naruto is sit-teeting right and next to me and titita talking to me." Then tears started to run down her cheeks. "He's alive. He's really alive." She started to cry to herself. Naruto, seeing this, instantly brought a hand up to her cheek, wiping away the tears, for he had a suspicion of what brought these tears. Damn. She must have been hit hard by my supposed death, if the huge crush she had on me were anything to go by. "Shoo, it's all right. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." He tried to comfort her with whispering soothing word to her. Luckily, they were at the back of the class, so either the people didn't hear or see what was going on, or they just didn't care. For the people that did see it, though, a small smile came to their lips knowing about the girl's crush. Though what really shocked them were the blonde's actions. Could it be he's finally figured out the girl's feelings towards him? Were the thoughts running through the onlooker's mind? With that, class began with Irika going into another one of his lectures, something about the past Hokages or something like that, seeing as Naruto was already trying to fight off falling asleep in the first 10 minutes of class. Damn, I forgot how boring class can be. At least I only have to deal with it for a week, then I'll be an actually ninja. Hours later, class had finally ended and the students started to exit the class on their way to who knows where. Naruto had stopped Hinata from leaving by grabbing her wrist before she could leave. "Hey Hinata, wanna go grab some ramen? It's been ages since I've had a chiraku's." "Did Naruto just ask me out on a D-date?" Hinata thought to herself with the blush back on her face from before. Why yes. With that, the two headed out of the class to go to Ichiraku's. Ichiraku's ramen. Naruto. Tucci and Ayam both shouted, seeing their favorite customer back and ordering his favorite food. Most people were still shocked to see him alive because at the moment it still hasn't been publicly announced that Naruto is alive. "We thought you had died," Tucci exclaimed, to which Naruto only smirked back at the aging man. "It'll take more than that to take me out, Databeo." Ayam then quickly ran around the booth to embrace the young blonde who has always been like a younger brother to her. "Naruto, I'm so glad you're alive." It's alright, Ayam Ne-chan. Not even death will keep me away from here." Naruto chuckled, getting a hearty laugh in return from Tucci. Hinata had a small smile on her face after seeing Naruto's warm welcome from the father-daughter pair. Even though it's not by blood, this must be Naruto's family, she thought to herself. As if finally spotting the company that Naruto brought the both of them, got a sly smirk on their faces before Ayam decided to tease the two. "So who's your date, Naruto?" At the mention of their date, Hinata's face lit up in a blush even more red than all the others she's had today. Naruto's face turned into a grin and wrapped an arm around Hinata's shoulder before pulling her closer to himself. "This here's Hinata Hyuga, and she's in the same class as me." With the added contact, Hinata finally looked like she had taken too much and seemed like she was about to faint, which Naruto noticed. "Oops, I think I went too far," he said, with all of them looking at the girl, who seems like she's about to faint. Both Tucci and Ayam ended up chuckling at the two's actions before Tucci invited them to sit down while he brings out the usual. After the meal was served and eaten, Naruto and Hinata gave the goodbyes and Naruto started to walk Hinata to the Hyuga compound. Outside Hyuga compound. "Well, here we are, Hinata. I guess I'll see you tomorrow in class," Naruto said before he was about to leave. "Wait," Hinata exclaimed, which surprised Naruto, for he's never even heard Hinata raise her voice. Before turning around, Hinata continued with what she was going to say. I if it's okay why with you maybe we can do to say again sometime." Hinata closed her eyes, waiting for the answer, fearing that this may have been a one-time thing. A small smile came to his face after Hinata asked him, "Yeah, that would be great. Maybe we can go somewhere after class tomorrow." Hinata released her breath, which she didn't even know she was holding. Then a bright smile came to her face. "Okay, I would like that," she said, not even once stuttering, further shocking Naruto. Wow, I never knew that Hinata looked so pretty, was the thought that crossed his mind after being stunned into silence from the beautiful smile Hinata gave him. Hyuga front entrance. Hayashi had watched how his daughter had asked Naruto out on another date with a smile on his face. "Thank you, Naruto. With you back, it seems like Hinata will finally rise up from the depression she's been in." Hayashi greeted his daughter with the smile still on his face while Hinata entered the household. "But I fear that the elders won't take kindly to the two of them dating. I will not let them interfere with the two of them though," Hayashi said to himself while clenching his fist. Time skip 1 week. Genin exam day. Academy classroom. 1 week has passed since Naruto's return to Konoha, and now Genin exam was finally upon them. Naruto had ended up taking Hinata out multiple dates throughout the week, getting to know the Hyuga heiress better, although it seems she still couldn't stop herself from blushing when she was around him. Naruto's thoughts then turned back to how the date from last night had ended. Flashback in front of Hyuga compound. Naruto and Hinata had just gotten back from their date for the day, which consisted of a small picnic on top of the Hokage monument, which they both greatly enjoyed, being able to relax and spend time together without Naruto having to face the whispers and the glares thrown his way. Now they were back to the Hyuga compound with the pair once again trading their goodbyes. But this time Naruto decided to take a risk. Hinata turned around and was about to enter the gate of the compound when suddenly Naruto turned her around. Then, much to her shock and enjoyment, Naruto and her were currently kissing. For when Naruto turned her around, he immediately smashed his lips upon hers. This was both as a good luck for tomorrow and him trying to get something going on between them. Naruto finally pulled back with his cheeks a little red with a full-blown smile on his face. "Good luck with the exams tomorrow, Hinata, and maybe once we both become Genin we can talk about how things are going to be between us. Because, well, I like you and I know you like me," he said with the smile still on his face. With that, Naruto turned around, heading back to his apartment, while Hinata had a full-blown crimson blush covering every inch of her face. Hinata then started to walk through the gate and through the estate till she reached her room as if she were on autopilot. When Hinata finally was in her room with her door closed, she immediately dived onto her bed while burying her head into her pillow with a squeal, thinking of what just happened minutes ago. "And Naruto kissed me and he said he likes me. I'll definitely pass the exams, I won't disappoint Naruto," she thought to herself with determination. "And then we will BBB-. Hinata never got to finish the thought, for she had already fainted from the overheating of her full-blown blush that still didn't go away. Hey, at least she doesn't have to worry about not being able to fall asleep. End flashback. Hinata was determined to pass the exam and be together with the person she has had a crush on for years. She would not allow herself to fail no matter what. With Naruto, though, he was stuck at an impasse, trying to figure out what to do. I could always go for perfect marks and show everyone I'm not the same dope that they used to know, but that might bring about unwanted attention. Then I could always try to pass with barely passing marks and keep up the dope appearance, but then no one would probably take me serious. I guess I can try to go for the middle lane and try to get average marks, making people take me serious while not gaining too much attention. With his decision made, Naruto decided he would hold himself back and try to seem as if his skills were average. Alright class, today, as you all know and have been waiting for, the Genin exams. To start off with, there will be an exam on Genjutsu. You will be paired up and cast a Genjutsu on your partner while your partner tries to release himself from the Genjutsu. Then you and your partner will switch roles. After the Genjutsu exam is the Taijutsu exam. For the first part of this exam will be target practice on practice dummies with kunais and shurikens. Afterwards will be a sparring practice between the same people you partnered up with for the jinjutsu. Finally, the exam for ninjutsu will consist of a kawarimi jutsu, a henge jutsu, and a bunshin jutsu. I was trying to make exams for all three of the different categories. Irika then started to list off people as partners. Hinata was paired up with someone whose name he didn't even know. Shikamaru and Choji were paired up. Ino and Sakura were paired up. While Sakura kept saying how she was going to completely defeat Ino Pig and then Sasuke-kun will be all hers, with Ino just sweat dropping the whole time, hoping that she wasn't that bad when she was in her fangirl state of mind. Finally, Naruto's name was called up and he was partnered up with Sasuke Uchiha. Great, I got the emo jerk. Naruto whined to himself. Naruto was the first of the two to cast a genjutsu, which most people weren't expecting him to even be able to do since he has never once succeeded. To their amazement, thought Naruto did cast a successful genjutsu that just made Naruto invisible to Sasuke, a basic level genjutsu. Kai, Sasuke said half-heartedly, expecting the genjutsu to break before his elite self. But to his amazement, nothing happened. Kai, Sasuke said one again, this time putting some effort into it and actually breaking the genjutsu this time. Sasuke let a smirk cross his face, thinking it must have been a fluke. Hey, no matter what, you'll always be dead last dobe. Now Naruto liked to pride himself in being able to control his emotions a lot better than he could a year ago. But the moment the arrogant Uchiha opened his mouth, Naruto got a sudden urge to just punch him straight in the face for some reason. He let himself be satisfied with a tick mark appearing above his eye though. Hey sensei, we shouldn't even bother with the dobe trying to break out of my genjutsu. There's no way he'll be able to, Sasuke said with an arrogant smirk on his face. Irika let out a sigh at the boy's arrogant attitude. Sasuke, everyone gets a chance. TCH, hey dobe, just give up. There's no way a dead last like you could break out of the genjutsu cast by an elite Uchiha like myself, Sasuke said, and you could hear Sakura squealing in the background. Sasuke's so cool. Then she turned her attention to Naruto. Hey Baka, you should do as Sasuke-kun says. You're not worth Sasuke-kun's time. Naruto just watched on with a sweat drop. I think I'd like to give it a chance anyway. Naruto said, though even though the sweat drop was there, his forehead kept getting more and more tick marks the more the arrogant brat kept talking. Gah! I just want to wipe that arrogant smirk straight of his face, he's so freaking annoying. Was what Naruto was currently thinking. Then an idea came to him, and with it a smirk crossed his face. Sasuke ended up casting a low-rank genjutsu that was about low genin rank. Wow, he's really underestimating me. With a smirk, Naruto calmly stated Kai, and Sasuke's genjutsu instantly broke apart, with Naruto looking as if he wasn't even struggling, which in fact he wasn't. Sasuke's smirk was instantly wiped off his face once his genjutsu was released. Wait, let me try that again, that must have been a fluke. Yeah, there's no way the Baka could have broke Sasuke-kun's genjutsu, Sakura shrieked in the background. Irika's sweat dropped while he was about to state that there were no second chances, but Naruto interrupted him before he could say anything. Go ahead, Irika-sensei, let him try again, so I can prove to him that it wasn't a fluke. The smirk was instantly back on Sasuke's face once Naruto said that. Heh, looks like the dobe knows how to show respect to his betters, he said, completely ignoring how Naruto said he was going to prove that it wasn't a fluke. Naruto's eye started to twitch at the Uchiha's comments. So he thinks he's my better, huh? How about I make this one more flashy and humiliating for him then? He thought, with the smirk returning to his face. Sasuke then cast another genjutsu, this time one between mid and high genin rank. Well, at least he's taking me serious this time. Naruto's smirk then grew right as he shouted Kai, as he pumped massive amount of chakra into the release. The genjutsu was released in a shockwave of blue chakra as Sasuke was pushed off his feet and landing right on his backside, while Naruto was looking down upon him with the smirk still on his face. Sasuke was clenching his fists while glaring up at the dobe. He thought of charging at the dobe, humiliating him, but he decided that he would just humiliate him in the taijutsu sparring exam. Baka, what did you do to Sasuke-kun? Sakura shrieked louder than before, making the people around her hold their ears in pain. You must have cheated, there's no way you could have beaten Sasuke-kun. Naruto's eye was again twitching. Gah, how the hell did I ever find that banshee attractive? Now I just want to go back in time and smack some sense into the younger me. She's so freaking annoying. How is it that both the emo and the banshee seem to annoy me so much? He thought to himself, questioning his sanity when he was younger. He then thought of a way to shut the banshee up, so with a smirk on his face he released another shockwave of chakra, this time blowing her off her feet. The people around her were instantly in hysterics at seeing her shocked face. Naruto then headed over and stood beside Hinata, who had a hand over her mouth, trying to stop the laughter that was trying to break through. He learned that she had also been able to break through her opponent's genjutsu easily while her opponent struggled to break through hers. Once Irika was successfully able to control the laughter that was trying to overcome him, he saw that everyone else was done. Okay class, the genjutsu part of the exam is over now. It's time for the target practice exam. Follow me outside to the training ground. Once everyone was at the training ground, they started to go one after the other in alphabetical order, taking turns at the target practice. Sasuke ended up getting a 10 out of 10, to which he let a smirk spread across his face, to which he targeted to a certain blonde-haired boy. With a roll of his eyes, Naruto stepped up to take his turn, getting a 7 out of 10. Average. Now it was time for the next part of the taijutsu exam, the sparring match. Again, people were paired up the same way as before with the genjutsu, with Naruto once again facing the arrogant Uchiha, who still had a smirk on his face from the target practice. Hell, like I said, once a dobe, always a dobe, he said again, making a tick appear above Naruto's eyebrow. What is his problem? I mean, I completely humiliated him in the genjutsu exam, so why does he keep thinking he's so freaking superior to me? The rest of the students had not yet begun their own spars, as all eyes were set on the two boys about to face off. Normally Irika would have shouted at the students to stop watching them and to get on with their own matches. But for the moment, Irika's attention, like everyone else's, was focused solely on the two boys that were about to face off. I'll make you pay for earlier. A dead last like you will never be better than an elite like me. The Uchiha kept ranting, trying to get it through the blonde's head that he would always be nothing when compared to him. Okay, seriously, is he ever gonna shut up, or is planning to talk me into submission? Although that does sound nice if it at least makes him shut up. Naruto thought in annoyance at the arrogant boy's never-ending rant of how he's king of the world or something like that. Naruto tried to tune him out, but then he heard something that instantly caught his attention. Hey, I've seen you hanging out with that Hyuga girl, who also happens to be an elite unlike you. Maybe I should take her from you and show her how it is to be with a real elite as my mistress for when I rebuild my clan, Sasuke said with a smirk on his face. Everyone could not believe what the Uchiha had just said. Well, except for Sakura, who said, "Yes, Sasuke-kun. That girl can be our little slave." Snap. Once everyone heard the snap, all eyes were moved away from the Uchiha to Naruto, only to find the spot he was once at empty. All except one person who kept her eyes on her, Sasuke-kun. Kyaa. Naruto Baka let go of Sasuke right now. All eyes then went back to where Sasuke was, to see Naruto standing next to Sasuke with his left foot forward and his right hand holding Sasuke's face. "You've gone too far this time," Naruto said in a voice that sent shivers down everyone's spines. With a heave, Naruto then slammed the back of Sasuke's head into the ground, instantly knocking him out cold. Everyone watched this happen with wide eyes and jaws dropped, as the supposedly dead last had instantly defeated the elite Uchiha in just one move with little to no effort. What the hell was with that speed? That's at least low-mid Chunin level speed, thought a slack-jawed Irika, not believing his eyes. Naruto, what kind of training did you go through? He then finally noticed how everyone else has still not started their match. When he was about to yell at everyone to stop gawking and start their matches, he was interrupted by a shriek that should not have been humanly possible. "Naruto Baka, what do you think you're doing to Sasuke? He's an elite Uchiha, you have no right to harm your betters. You better bow down and beg for his forgiveness, you dead last." The pink banshee shrieked to the boy, who looked at her in boredom. "You done yet?" he questioned. With another shriek, Sakura then charged straight at Naruto, making him lift an eyebrow at her action. "Does she seriously think she can hurt me?" Sakura swung at Naruto, only for him to disappear. With a quick chop to the back of her neck, Naruto ended up knocking her unconscious, not even bothering to try to catch her. He then looked towards Ino, who she was supposed to spar with. "Sorry, Ino. Looks like I left you without a sparring partner." With a blush, Ino then spoke back to Naruto. "And no, it's fine. She charged at you, so it's not your fault anyway." Naruto smiled at her response, getting another blush from her. Looks like she's changed for the better since I've been gone. If it's okay with you and Irika-sensei, I could fill in as your partner if you want me to," he questioned while glancing at Irika from the corner of his eye. "If it's okay with Ino, then I will allow it," was all he said. Naruto then refocused his sight back on Ino, who gave a nod of agreement. Once the spar was done, with Naruto really just dodging her attacks while commenting on hole in her guard, Irika then spoke up. Alright, the taijutsu part of the exam is over now, all that's left is the ninjutsu part. So line up, and when it's your turn you will perform the kawarimi, henge, and bunshin jutsu in that order. Nice job, Ino. With a little refinement you would be a fine kunoichi, Naruto said with a kind smile on his face before heading over to the line, not noticing the blush that had spread on her face. Why am I blushing so much? I mean, it's Naruto, although it does feel nice being acknowledged for the hard work I put into my skills, she thought to herself. When she had gotten over fangirl mentality, Ino had actually started to work harder on her ninja skills, trying to become a kunoichi of Konoha instead of some mindless follower. This in turn had made her father proud at his daughter's resolve, especially when she came to him asking for help in her training and taking her clan jutsu training more seriously. Though that he approved of the most was that she was no longer going on her diet and had stopped starving herself. The students were all lined up with Naruto near the end, for the line had been reorganized into alphabetical order just like with the target practice exam. Sasuke and Sakura had been woken up through the use of smelling salts that were always carried around during the exams in case someone was knocked unconscious like they had. The two were currently glaring at the blonde boy who had made them unconscious in the first place. But fortunately for the blonde, neither of them had said anything yet and just stuck to glaring. After Sasuke's turn, in which he had gotten another high score, although this time it seemed instead of the well-known smirk that would usually follow, he was still glaring at the blonde whose turn was now up. Naruto decided he had stuck out too much so far and decided to go back to his average score plan. So he performed both an average Kawamire and henge, in which he had to transform into Irika-sensei, and now it was time for the bunshin. Just as he had gathered the chakra and was about to perform an average bunshin, a feeling came across him. One that he was quite familiar with. The feeling was telling him to fail the bunshin. Now usually no normal person would follow such a feeling. For Naruto, though, he had been instructed to always follow the feeling by Rika-sensei if the feeling ever came about, which he has been whenever he's had the feeling before. Flashback. Naruto, I will now tell you one of the most important abilities that all Keyblade bearers end up with, Rika stated, catching Naruto's attention at the thought of learning a new skill. All Keyblade wielders end up with what you could call a sixth sense, you could call it a reaction. The reaction is basically a highly tuned form of instinct. The reaction is when a person gets a strong feeling of what they should do next. Rika stated. Seeing Naruto's confused face, he decided to bring up an example. Naruto, have you noticed how that even though you've never wielded a sword before, you are able to fight like that of a master swordsman? Getting a nod, he continued. That is basically a lesser form of the reaction sense. What is basically happening is that your body is instantly reacting to the situation you are in and inputs information into your body what to do. For sword battle, it tells your body how to swing and when to block. For example, the combos you pull off is a chain of reactions telling your body how to combine a chain of attacks to damage your opponent. There are times where the feeling may have nothing to do with battle though. Say if you are presented two paths, the reaction sense may instruct to you which path you would need to go. Riku explained, hoping he got the full importance across to him. I think I understand, so what you mean in this reaction is basically your instinct telling you what to do in any given situation that may lead to a favorable outcome, Naruto said, trying to summarize what his sensei had told him. Getting a nod from Riku, who was happy that the blonde had truly understood how important the reaction can be. Remember, Naruto, if you ever feel a reaction coming, follow it. Do not question it, for it will always save you and bring you to a favorable outcome. End flashback. So Naruto, putting full faith into the reaction, pumped up too much chakra into the bunshin jutsu. And with a poof, a failure of a bunshin appeared, though a puff of smoke looking like some boneless blob. Hihi, sorry sensei. Seems like the bunshin jutsu is still too much for me, Naruto said with a sheepish look while rubbing his hand on the back of his head. Irika let out a sigh. Damn, and he was doing so well too. But the ninjutsu exam is something you must pass, unlike the other two. Irika looked at the blonde and with a solemn expression he said, I'm sorry Naruto, but if you can't perform a successful bunshin jutsu, then I'm going to have to fail you. Hihi, it's okay Irika-sensei. I guess it was too soon for me to try the genin exam. I mean, I have been gone for a year now, Naruto said before going with the rest of the group back to the classroom. Irika then announced that everyone but Naruto had passed and that they should come back next week for team assigning. Once he was done, he dismissed the class with Naruto being the first one to leave, giving no time for Hinata to try to comfort her crush. I hope Naruto's going to be all right, she thought to herself with a worried expression. Outside the classroom on the swing, where he was after he failed in the canon. Naruto was currently sitting on the swing outside of the classroom, which was always his little quiet spot to where he could think without being bothered. He was currently mulling over the reaction he had in class while ignoring the blatant stares and whispers being directed towards him by the parents of the students that did pass. Now I just have to wait and see why the reaction wanted me to purposely fail. Naruto thought to himself, not even worried about him failing, placing full trust into the reaction. As if to answer his question, the other Chunin that was assisting Iruka-sensei came up to Naruto. Naruto, he called, catching the boy's attention. Mizuki-sensei? Naruto said with a raised eyebrow. Hey Naruto, I know that Iruka may have failed you, but what if I told you a little secret about how you could pass? Mizuki said, inwardly smirking as he set his plan to motion. Why would you tell me the secret? Naruto questioned, trying to see where this may be leading. Well, since you were doing so well in all the other exams and only failed the Bunshin exam, I believe you deserve another chance, was the answer he received. TCH, yeah right, like he would think I deserved another chance. He looks at me just like all the other villagers, although he does hide it better than them, were his thoughts trying to process what Mizuki may be planning. Mizuki handed Naruto a slip of paper. All you have to do is successfully take the forbidden scroll to this location and learn at least one jutsu from it, and then you pass, Mizuki said before turning and leaving with a smirk now plastered on his face, thinking of how gullible the demon brat is. What he didn't see is a smirk on Naruto's own face as Mizuki left with only one word running through his thoughts. Jackpot. Chapter 4. Secrets revealed. Hokage's office. Hiruzen was once again facing off against the dreaded paperwork feared by all Kages. Why can't something come up to save me from all this damn paperwork? Hiruzen sighed after looking at the piles of paperwork that still needed to be completed. It seemed as if his request was about to be granted as Naruto suddenly barged into his office. Naruto, what are you doing here so late at night? Hiruzen questioned. For it indeed was late out with the sun long since setting. Hokage-sama. Naruto started instantly catching his attention, for Naruto would usually always address him as Gigi. There is a traitor in Konoha. Hiruzen's eyes widened, then instantly turned serious. Traitors were indeed a serious issue that must be dealt with as quickly as possible before any village secrets can be revealed. Naruto, who is the traitor? And do you have any proof? The Hokage questioned. The traitor is a Chunin named Mizuki. He currently assists Iruka-sensei at the academy. Naruto answered for the first part of the Hokage's question. Currently I have no proof, but I have information on what he plans to do. Hiruzen motioned for Naruto to continue and explain with what he knew. Mizuki planned to trick me into stealing the forbidden scroll of sealing and bring it to him, Naruto said. The Hokage's eyes widened at the implications of what Naruto just said. This is more serious than I thought, to think that he would try to include Naruto into his scheme to steal the forbidden scroll of all things. If that had gotten into enemy hands, then who knows what would have happened, thought Hiruzen, who was currently trying to figure out a way to capture Mizuki. The problem is there's no proof, and I highly doubt the council will take Naruto's word over anyone else's, thought Hiruzen, but then Naruto decided to inform him about his own plan. Gigi, I say that I go along with Mizuki's plan and bring the scroll to the designated location where I will then capture him with proof, said Naruto, to which Hiruzen instantly tried to deny. Naruto, I'm glad you wish to try to capture the traitor, but he's a Chunin while you're not even a Genin yet. I'm stronger than you think. I assure you that I can handle him. Here, how about this, Gigi? If I perform a jutsu that can knock you out, we go along with my plan, Naruto said, already having a jutsu in mind. Hiruzen decided to go along with this, having confidence that nothing Naruto could do could knock him out. Naruto, I highly doubt you will be able to knock me out, but go ahead. Though once you fail, you must throw away your plan to try to confront him yourself. All right, Gigi, but don't hold this against me, you brought it upon yourself, Naruto said before performing a hand sign and being covered in smoke. A henge, surely he doesn't think that will do anything to me. Hiruzen could only wonder. Oiroke no jutsu. Then the smoke cleared to show that where Naruto once stood was now a busted blonde with hair tied up in twin tails with smoke barely keeping her modesty. Naruto had originally created this jutsu to play a prank on Riku. The reason being was that Riku always seemed to be calm and collected and nothing ever seemed to get to him. That changed though once Naruto had revealed his newest jutsu. I still remember Riku-sensei's reaction to that jutsu. Still can't believe he shot that far back from a nosebleed. Hiruzen was then knocked out by massive nosebleed that rocketed him backwards out of his seat. Sorry about that, GG, Naruto said before heading over towards a shelf packed with numerous scrolls. After a while of searching, Naruto finally found the scroll he was looking for. Alright, I got it. No, I just need to set the trap and catch the traitor. Forest surrounding Konoha. Alright, now that I'm where he wanted me to be now, I just gotta wait for him to show up. I've got a scroll here filled with powerful jutsus and time to kill. Naruto thought to himself before opening the scroll and looking over the names of the jutsus and a brief skim over the description. Most of these seem either too dangerous or just don't fit with my style. Wait, what do we have here? Naruto thought to himself before stopping on one jutsu in particular. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu. Now why would this be here? Here we go. Equally distributes chakra between the clones and it's a solid body clone. Still doesn't explain why it's in the scroll. Sure, it can be dangerous but not enough to be a kenjutsu. Oh wait, here we are. Wow, that explains it. This is actually perfect for someone like me. And with that, Naruto had decided on which jutsu he would learn while killing time waiting for Mizuki to come and fall for his trap. Irika's house. Irika was currently thinking back to the night the Kyuubi had attacked Konoha, the night he had lost his parents, making him an orphan just like Naruto. He was broken out of his thoughts though when there was a sudden knock on his door. Irika answered the door only to find Mizuki, his assistant, behind the door. Irika, we must go to the Hokage's office. Naruto has taken the forbidden scroll of sealing as a prank. Irika was shocked. He couldn't believe that Naruto would do something so foolish which could be seen as traitorous. Irika and Mizuki then headed towards the Hokage's office, stopping outside of after seeing a mob of angry ninja. They then saw the Hokage speaking to the ninja. Naruto has indeed stolen the forbidden scroll of sealing. Find Naruto and do not let the scroll enter into the wrong hands. With that, all of the ninjas spread out into different areas hoping to find the boy. There now Mizuki is heading towards Naruto. I leave the rest to you. Be safe. Irika then headed towards the woods in hope to find Naruto, while Mizuki decided to spread the news and then make it seem like Naruto ran off with the scroll. Forest outside Konoha. Naruto had long since mastered the jutsu and was currently waiting for Mizuki until he felt a familiar chakra signature heading his way. I guess it's been reported that I've taken the scroll, but how the hell did Irika-sensei find me? Shit, this could ruin the plan. Ha! I've found you, Irika said when he appeared in front of the boy. Irika, now's not the time, get ready. Irika raised an eyebrow at Naruto's response before he heard the sound of something cutting through the air. Irika was about to push Naruto out of the way, but instead he felt himself being pulled along with Naruto being pulled out of the way. Impressive dodge, the attacker said, identifying himself. Naruto, give me the scroll. Naruto decided to play along for a little more as the dobe in hopes of having Mizuki reveal his plans to both him and Irika, giving him enough proof. What do you mean, Mizuki-sensei? Why did you attack Irika-sensei? Don't give him the scroll, Irika said while glaring at Mizuki. That scroll is filled with dangerous jutsus. Mizuki used you to acquire it. Good job, Irika-sensei. Now I don't have to worry about him trying to figure out what's going on, Naruto thought before looking back at Mizuki. Naruto, there's no point in you having it, Mizuki said with a smirk. How about I tell you the truth? Irika's eyes widened at what Mizuki was about to reveal to the young blonde. Mizuki, don't. Do you remember how 12 years ago the Yondaime Hokage defeated the Kyuubi? Mizuki asked. Kyuubi? Why is he bringing up the Kyuubi now of all times? Well, since that day a law was made by the Sandaime Hokage, a law centered around the Kyuubi, Mizuki said, his smirk turning maniacal. The law states that the truth of that night 12 years ago was to never be revealed to the younger generation, but mainly this law was to keep the truth away from you. Truth behind the attack, what the hell is he going on about? Why would there be a law to keep the truth from me? Were the frustrated thoughts of Naruto not seeing where this was going. The truth is, even though the Yondaime was powerful, he could not defeat the Kyuubi. Mizuki said with glee, taking sick entertainment in how he was about to ruin the boy. Wait, couldn't be defeated, then what happened? Why did the attack stop? Instead, the Yondaime Hokage had to seal the Kyuubi into an infant, Mizuki said, almost about to reveal the most well-kept secret in all of Konoha. Sealed in an infant? Wait, he couldn't mean. But then all those glares and that night, it's all starting to make sense. The Kyuubi was sealed into you, Naruto Uzumaki. You are the Kyuubi, Mizuki said while shouting the last part. Naruto was shaking, making those around him thinking he was shivering in fear or disbelief. But both were wrong, he was shaking with pure anger. How dare they? The reason they hate me is because the Kyuubi is sealed inside of me. Don't they know that doesn't make me Kyuubi, but the seal that holds it back from killing all of them? How dare they? Hey, moron! Naruto shouted, catching Mizuki off guard. Imagining the boy trying to deny the truth, not to be calling him a moron. Don't you know the difference between a kunai and the scroll it's sealed in? How the hell are you even a chunin if you can't even figure that out? Iruka was proud of Naruto for not letting the truth get to him and make him spiral into depression. Mizuki, on the other hand, was furious. How dare this demon insult and humiliate me? I'll make him pay. Mizuki then took the Fuma shuriken off of his back and threw it at Naruto. Iruka was about to cry out Naruto's name and put himself between the shuriken and his student, but he was in for a surprise when Naruto twisted his body to the side in a split second, dodging the giant shuriken with barely any difficulty. Is that all you got? If so, I restate what I said earlier. How the hell are you a chunin? Naruto calmly questioned, igniting Mizuki's rage even further. Mizuki then charged at Naruto and was about to punch him right in the side of the head, but again Naruto dodged it in a split second with Mizuki's fist hitting nothing but air. You really are slow, you know that, Naruto said as if pointing out the obvious. Here, let me try now. With that, Naruto did exactly as he said and proceeded to take his turn, which in fact was a straight punch, hitting Mizuki right in the middle of his chest, making him be sent flying back and crashing into the trunk of a tree. Don't tell me that's all you could take, Naruto said, feeling slightly disappointed, expecting more of a challenge. Mizuki then pulled himself back up, all the while glaring at the boy who seemed to be mocking him. I will never let a demon like you defeat me. While Mizuki was finishing his sentence, he charged back at Naruto, who only shook his head and sighed. How predictable. Maybe I should test that new jutsu of mine. The irony to defeat him with the jutsu that he indirectly allowed me to learn. Naruto then brought his hands into a strange hand sign that had the index and middle finger of both hands forming a cross. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu, and with that a massive amount of smoke covered the clearing. When the smoke cleared, what they saw made both Iruka and Mizuki go slack-jawed and wide-eyed. For the clearing was now filled with hundreds of Narutos, all sporting a somewhat sadistic smirk in Mizuki's direction. Mizuki was currently only having one thing run through his head right now. Oh shit. Hey Mizuki team. No matter how much damage you can do, I will always deal you the same damage 1,000-fold. Shouted all of the Narutos before charging at Mizuki. The battle, to sum it up in short, would be described as a massacre. For Mizuki ended up being brutally beaten up by all of the Narutos, making him end up bruised black and blue with bumps all over his body. Hokage's office. Hiruzen had long since been watching over the battle between Naruto and Mizuki. Impressive, Naruto. Not only did you learn a technique that is easily Jounin level, but you could create so many clones. Then again, you are an Uzumaki. An Umbu then entered his office, bringing him news. Hokage-sama, we have found the boy. We are about to go and retrieve both the boy and the scroll. Don't, Hiruzen said, surprising the Umbu. The problem has been solved and Naruto will soon be returning with the scroll. Guide him to my office. With that, the Umbu then vanished, heading towards the boy to bring him to the Hokage as ordered. Forest outside Konoha. Iruka was currently staring at his favorite student as he was grabbing both the scroll and Mizuki and bringing them both over to Iruka. Heh! Amazing, Naruto, you never cease to impress me. To create so many clones, all of them solid no less. Iruka then started to remember how Naruto would always state how he would become Hokage and surpass all the previous Hokages. Hey Naruto, come over here, I want to give you something. Naruto put both Mizuki and the scroll down and walked in front of Iruka. Close your eyes, he said, with Naruto doing just that. Naruto felt something brush up and wrap around the top of his head above his blinder. Okay, you can open your eyes now. Naruto opened his eyes to see Iruka's face. But this time he saw something different. Iruka now lacked the usual headband that was always on his forehead. Naruto then brought a hand up to his forehead to feel the cold metal of a headband. Naruto's eyes started to tear up and he rushed at Iruka, hugging him. "Thank you, Iruka-sensei," Naruto said, trying to stop himself from crying. The reason he was about to cry was even though he was usually laid back, he indeed did wish for a family, to which Iruka seemed to fill in as his older brother. "All right, Naruto, let's head back. I'm sure Hokage-sama is worried. Also, we need to return the scroll and bring in Mizuki," Iruka said while glancing at both the scroll and the traitor. Gates of Konoha. Naruto and Iruka were then stopped by an Umbu when they were heading through the gates into Konoha. Iruka was about to explain the truth but was interrupted by the Umbu. "Naruto, Iruka, you are both to head towards the Hokage's office while I bring the traitor to the INT." Iruka then handed over Mizuki to the Umbu while both he and Naruto headed straight to the Hokage's office. Hokage's office. Naruto and Iruka then entered into the Hokage's office to find the Hokage looking straight at them from behind his desk. "Congratulations, Naruto, for both graduating and completing your first A-rank mission." Iruka was shocked when he heard about Naruto completing an A-rank mission while Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Must be a cover-up." "Hokage-sama, what do you mean by A-rank mission?" Iruka questioned, trying to figure what the hell was going on. Naruto was given an A-rank mission to act as bait along with the Forbidden Scroll of Sealing to apprehend the traitor Mizuki along with finding proof of his actions to present to the council, Hiruzen stated, already having a cover story in place. Iruka was even more surprised. Naruto was under orders to take the scroll, and he already knew about Mizuki. When did this happen? "Now Naruto, if you would return the scroll to me," Hiruzen said. "And please fill a report of your mission and I will then give you the reward for an A-rank mission." "Sure, Gigi, but there's something I need to talk to you about." He then glanced at Iruka. "Sorry, sensei, but I need to talk to him alone." Iruka had instantly figured out what he wished to discuss with the Hokage. He must wish to talk about the Kyuubi. Iruka gave a nod to both Naruto and the Hokage and then exited the room. "Okay, Gigi, I already know you were watching me, so you must know what I'm going to talk to you about." Hiruzen let out a sigh. He had always been dreading the moment he would have to explain about the Kyuubi to Naruto, although he expected Naruto to be older by the time he did. "Well, as I'm sure you already know, even though the Yondaime was powerful, he could not defeat the Kyuubi, so he instead had to seal inside of an infant. That infant was you, Naruto," Hiruzen said, basically repeating what Mizuki had told him except about how he was the demon. "Hehe, you know, I'm trying to figure out how I didn't figure that out. I mean, my birthday is on the same freaking day the Kyuubi attacked. Then there's the glares and also the night 1 year ago," Naruto said while saddening the Hokage while he was hearing about what Naruto had to go through. "Okay, Gigi, no more secrets. Tell me who my parents are," Naruto said, wishing to get all the secrets out of the way. Hiruzen again sighed. "It seems many secrets will be revealed tonight." "All right, Naruto, I'll tell you, but listen and do not interrupt me until I'm done," Hiruzen said. "I'll start off with you, father, I guess, and get that out of the way. Naruto, your father is the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze," Hiruzen said, to which Naruto's eyes widened. "Your father truly loved you, Naruto, and he would always regret how he had to seal the Kyuubi into you, but he had no other choice. I'm sorry I could not reveal who your father was, but you see, your father had made many enemies, especially from IWA, who would surely send out assassination attempts upon the son of the Yellow Flash." Naruto nodded in understanding. A ninja such as the Yondaime Hokage would indeed make many enemies. Heck, in IWA alone, he had defeated a whole army using the Hiraishin no Jutsu, gaining the nickname the Yellow Flash. "Your mother's name was Kushina Uzumaki. She was actually much like you are, always shouting to everyone how she would be the first female Hokage," Hiruzen stated, chuckling to himself, remembering the redhead's antics from when she was younger. "She's actually the last Uzumaki from a hidden village named Yuzushioga-kure. She later became the Kyuubi's second container after another Uzumaki named Mido Uzumaki, the wife of the Shodaime Hokage," the Hokage said, revealing that Naruto was actually not the first container of the Kyuubi. "So you're saying my mother was a Jinchuriki before me?" Naruto questioned, shocking Hiruzen. "Naruto, how do you know about Jinchurikis?" he asked, wondering how the boy learned of such a word. "Hehe, Gigi, I've been gone for a year. I ended up learning several things while I was gone," he said while the Hokage gained a look of understanding. I guess being away for a year would allow Naruto to learn of several things. Anyways, your mother and father had to keep their relationship a secret for fear of attack upon Kushina to get revenge on Minato. The old man stated, getting an understanding look from Naruto. That means that they also had to keep your birth a secret. Naruto, you see, during childbirth a Jinchuriki seal becomes fragile, and while I do not know what happened during your birth, I do know that the Kyuubi ended up being released and attacked the village, Hiruzen said, explaining how the Kyuubi even ended up attacking the village. Naruto was currently trying to wrap his head around the information that had been revealed to him. Not only was he the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, but he was also the son of the Yondaime Hokage. Hokage, seeing the stress Naruto seemed to be under, decided to bring something up to change the topic to something lighter, and something that actually made him let out a perverted giggle. Hey Naruto, as you know, you are the last member of both the Namikaze and the Uzumaki clan, Hiruzen said, getting a raised eyebrow from Naruto, wondering what the Hokage was trying to get at. Well, since you are the last of both clans, you end up falling under the CRA. Naruto instantly paled. That crafty, perverted old man, was the thoughts of the blonde. Usually most men would be ecstatic at such news, but not Naruto. For Naruto never had any plans to pair up with multiple women. In fact, he was currently trying to get to know Hinata better and maybe even start a relationship with said girl. Hinata? Oh shit, how will she take this? Naruto thought after having his mind drift to the girl he had kissed only a couple of days ago. Hiruzen, meanwhile, was chuckling to himself the entire time, seeing the display of emotions that kept playing over Naruto's face. Hey, I wonder what kind of harem Naruto will have, he thought, releasing another perverted giggle. Hiruzen, though, knew there was another matter to bring up, so he calmed himself down and returned to being serious as he was before mentioning the CRA. Naruto, now that you know who your parents are, I plan to announce your heritage to the rest of the village if you end up entering the Chunin exams in a couple months' time. Hiruzen said, wishing to somehow make his surrogate grandson's life easier by giving him what is rightfully his. Naruto then nodded, agreeing with what the Hokage had said. Alright Gigi. I think I'ma go ahead and do this report now so I can head home and sleep. Naruto then handed Hiruzen the scroll and proceeded to filling out the report before acquiring the reward for the A-rank mission. With everything done and nothing else to do, Naruto then headed home to get some sleep after a long night. Time skip. Naruto's apartment. It had been a few days since Naruto's defeat of Mizuki, with him becoming a Konoha ninja. During the time in between, Naruto had ended up meeting the Hokage's grandson, Konohamaru, and his private tutor Ebisu. Somehow Naruto had ended up becoming Konohamaru's boss, with him ending up teaching the boy how to perform the Oiroke no Jutsu. He also ended up creating another jutsu called Harem no Jutsu, which he used to have Ebisu end up being sent flying by a massive nosebleed. Naruto was currently waking up after a good night's sleep and getting himself prepared to go to class today. I wonder who my teammates are going to be, wondered Naruto. For today was indeed the day that all the new genin of Konoha will be arranged into teams of 3. I hope I'm teamed up with Hinata. Time skip. Academy classroom. Naruto walked through the doors to the classroom and spotted all his other classmates who became genin. Looking for a certain someone, Naruto ended up finding Hinata and walked to go sit next to her. But on his way, he was stopped by a certain duck-butted Uchiha. Dobe, what are you doing here? Only those who passed are supposed to be here, the Uchiha said, hoping to get the Dobe back for all the humiliation he got during the exam. Hey Duck, but can't you see the height he ate? Was his only answer as he walked past the glaring brooder. He continued to walk until he was next to Hinata, who seemed to be preoccupied with her own thoughts, seeing as she didn't even notice he was there. Hey Hinata, he said, gaining said girl's attention, who looked up at him in surprise and what seemed to be relief. And Naruto, I thought, why you failed? Yeah, I did, but I was given a second chance seeing how I did so well on all the other tests, he said, smiling while getting a smile in return. That's great, Naruto, she said without stuttering, showing how happy she really was that she would be able to graduate with her crush and maybe soon-to-be boyfriend. Hee, I hope we end up on the same team, he said, getting a shy nod in return from the Hyuga heiress. Naruto had ended up holding a conversation with Hinata and greeted some of his friends while he was waiting for the class to start. Finally, after a few minutes, Irika walked into the classroom. Okay, class starting today. You are all finally real shinobi of the village, although you are all currently genin. Irika then started to drone on about how each genin will end up in a team with two other genin while getting a jounin instructor whose orders they will have to follow. The information of being in a three-man team brought about different thoughts from different students. Naruto's thoughts were about wanting to be on a team with Hinata. The fangirls were all hoping to be teamed with a certain duck, but while said duck but was thinking being on a team will drag him down. Alright, I will now designate who will be on what team and who your jounin instructor will be, Irika said. After Irika finished naming the first 6 teams of which Naruto knew none of the names of Irika, then said, Alright, next is Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno. Thump was heard as Naruto slammed his head down upon his desk, while a screech could be heard from his fellow teammate, and Sasuke Uchiha. The final name brought about several different reactions. For Sakura, she was cheering and gloating to the other fangirls who were all groaning about how they didn't get to be teamed with their precious Uchiha. Sasuke was currently glaring at Naruto, who was currently banging his head repeatedly upon his desk, wondering why he was being given this cruel and unusual punishment. Is this because I pulled the Oiroke no Jutsu on Gigi, or maybe because I taught his grandson the Jutsu? This has got to be some type of payback, were Naruto's current thoughts. The next teams to be named consisted of Hinata, Shino, and Kiba being Team 8, while Team 10 was made up of Ino, Shikamaru, and Chuji, the children of the original Ino Shikacho. This afternoon we'll introduce you to your jounin sensei, so until take a break, Irika said, dismissing the class. Time skip. He's late, screeched an annoyed Sakura. The reason being is that their jounin sensei was currently 3 hours late from when he was supposed to show up. Sasuke was also annoyed, but he was trying to hide it by acting cool. Naruto, on the other hand, for some strange reason was grinning like a madman. There is only one jounin who's ever this late, maybe this will make up for who I'm teamed up with. Since Naruto was so happy with the revelation of who his sensei was, he was in no way, shape, or form annoyed at the moment, which seemed to annoy the other two even more. Naruto Baka, why are you so happy? Sakura demanded, wondering why her teammate could look so happy about their sensei being so late. Naruto decided to take a page out of their soon-to-be sensei's book to annoy the girl even more. You say something. Before, Sakura looked merely annoyed, but now she looked like she wanted to punch someone, that someone being either Naruto or their currently absent sensei. Naruto decided to use this moment to play a prank. The prank consisted of a tripwire, spring-loaded kunai, and a slingshot-like contraption filled with water balloons. After a few minutes of waiting, their sensei opened the door and snapped the wire tied to the door. Their sensei watched with interest while a kunai was released after he had opened the door. After the kunai was launched, it ended up hitting and cutting another wire, this time hold back a slingshot filled with water balloons. This, however, made their sensei raise his one visible eyebrow. Weird, no matter how I look at it, the balloons won't hit me, he thought. Like he had figured out the balloons indeed weren't aimed at him. Instead, the slingshot unloaded a shower of balloons upon Naruto's other teammates. Naruto looked on with an innocent look. Oops, seems my aim was off, was his only response. Kakashi let out a chuckle. How can I say this? My first impression is, well, one of you has a good sense of humor while the other two, he said the first part while looking at Naruto before turning towards the soaking duo. You need to train your reaction. Sasuke and Sakura seemed to be deciding which of the two to take their fury out on, but Kakashi had other plans. Well, you two dry off, then meet me and Naruto on the roof. Academy roof. Naruto's now dry teammates had just arrived to the roof after drying themselves. Seeing this, Kakashi decided to get started. Well, let's begin with introductions. What do you want to know? Sakura asked. How about your likes, dislikes, your dreams, and your hobbies? Kakashi answered. Sakura then asked, why don't you start with yourself first? Okay then, my likes and dislikes are none of your business, my dreams, and I have a lot of hobbies, he said, getting a sweat drop in return. Sakura and Sasuke's thoughts were along the lines of, he only told us his name, while Naruto was trying to stop himself from laughing. So Pinky, why don't you go now? Said Kakashi, with Sakura gaining a tick mark at the nickname. My name is Haruno Sakura. The things I like, she glanced towards Sasuke while blushing, and dreams for the future. She took another glance at Sasuke. What I dislike are Naruto Baka and Ayano Pig, she said while screaming out the last part. Finally, my hobbies are and she ended with a final glance towards Sasuke. Naruto and Kakashi gained a sweat drop while gaining the same thought. Great a fangirl, she's gonna end up a liability most likely. Okay, you next duck butt, Kakashi said while changing his focus to said duck butt. Sasuke gained a tick mark but didn't show any other emotions, probably trying to keep up the cool act. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I don't really like anything while I dislike many things. He said this part while allowing a brief glare at Naruto. My dream. No, my goal is to restore my clan and kill a certain man, he finished. So an Avenger, Kakashi thought while Naruto's thoughts were along the same line. Now finally you, the one on the right, he said while Naruto's teammates completely missed how Kakashi didn't give him a mocking nickname. Hihi, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes are ramen and my precious people, my dislikes. Well, I'll keep that to myself. My dreams are to become Hokage, and finally my hobbies I guess would be pranks, he said while not revealing much. He also got a glare from his teammates at the mention of pranks. He seems mature then from a year ago except for the pranks, were Kakashi's current thoughts. So in the end it's a fangirl, an Avenger, and an enigma. Right now to Kakashi, Naruto was a mystery. He had no idea how the boy could have changed over the year and seemed to be keeping that information to himself while the other two basically stated what kind of person they are. Well, more like showed what kind of person they are for Sakura's case. Alright, that's it for the introductions. By tomorrow we will start our shinobi duties, Kakashi said when he finally got focus out of his thoughts. What will we be doing tomorrow? Naruto asked, truly wondering what is in store for him tomorrow. Well, tomorrow we will begin with survival training, he said, getting the interest of all three of them. Why is our first duty training? Sakura asked. We've already had enough training at the academy. Naruto could only cite to himself. Academy training, not something that will last us, hopefully she will learn that. This time is different, Kakashi said. This time I will be your opponent. If you fail though you will be sent back to the academy, he said while giving all of them a serious look. Also there is a 66% chance of failing, and if you fail you will be sent back to the academy. This got several different reactions. For Sakura she voiced her reaction. But we already passed the Genin exam. That was only to see who had a chance to become a Genin. This is the real test though, Kakashi stated, showing no emotions. For Sasuke he was glaring at Kakashi while his thoughts were along the lines of, I cannot fail. I am an elite Uchiha, and I will not let anything hold me back from killing him. While Naruto's thoughts were more calculative, so 66% chance of failure, so 2/3 chance of failing, while all of us have a 1/3 chance of passing and there's 3 of us. I think I see where this is going, but I need more information, something is being left out. Oh, by the way, I recommend you to skip breakfast, otherwise you might throw up. And with that said, he left, leaving the 3 Genin alone. All 3 of them left the roof with their own thoughts while heading home to wait for tomorrow. Chapter 5. Bell Test and Wave. Training Ground. Sasuke and Sakura were currently at the training ground waiting for their other teammate and sensei. It had already been 2 hours since they were supposedly meant to meet up at, but there was not a sign of either. After a few more minutes of waiting, one of the two had finally shown up, to which Sakura decided to reprimand for being late. Naruto Baka, you're late. Naruto could only raise an eyebrow. You do know that Kakashi is late for everything by about 3 hours, right? He asked, only for both his teammates to develop a twitch upon their eyebrow, giving him his answer, guess not. A minute another Naruto arrived with a bowl of ramen in his hands, which was then grabbed by the Naruto that had shown up first. Ah! Finally a nice bowl of ramen in the morning. Naruto Baka, Kakashi-sensei told us not to eat, Sakura said while accusing the boy of disobeying orders. Actually, he didn't, he said. Before Sakura could refute back, he continued. He recommended us not to eat. He didn't say we weren't supposed to. With that, he dispersed his clone, and to his surprise he gained memories of him going to Ichiraka's ramen and ordering the ramen. What just happened? Did I just gain the memory of my clone? I'm gonna have checked that out after the test. This might become something extremely useful, were his current thoughts. With another hour of waiting, Kakashi finally showed up and his eyes fell upon the trio he was about to test. Yo! With just that one word he greeted his students as if he didn't just make them wait 3 hours, Well, two of them anyway. Even after Naruto showed up, he took a quick nap after finishing his bowl of ramen. "You're late," was the only answer he received from one of his students, who decided to bring to point out his tardiness by screeching at him. Getting back to business, Kakashi brought out an alarm clock. "Okay, this is set for noon. Your goal is to take these 2 bells for me before the time's up," he said while bringing out said 2 bells. "Those who don't have a bell by noon will be tied to a stump and get no lunch," he said while pointing out 3 tree stumps, with one of them being the resting place for the alarm clock. "He guess it's a good thing I did eat," Naruto thought while his teammates were glaring at him. "All you have to do is take 1 bell, but if you fail to take a bell you will fail and be sent back to the academy," Kakashi said with a serious look on his face. "But sensei, there's only 2 bells, Sakura said, getting a response from Naruto. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he already said that." "Exactly, no matter what, one of you fails and will be sent to the academy," he said while looking at his students to see how they were reacting. Naruto just had a smirk on his face. So that's what was missing. He makes sense now. Sasuke had his eyes narrowed while glaring at Kakashi. "No matter what, an Uchiha like me will not fail, especially not until I kill him." While Sakura seemed to be glaring at Naruto for his crack at her about her stating the obvious, but also seemed to be taking glances at Sasuke. "This is a test for my love. I will not fail. Use anything at your disposal. Also come at me with the intent to kill, otherwise you will fail," Kakashi said, earning a response from Sakura. "But sensei, what if we hurt you?" Naruto and Kakashi could only look at her as if she were stupid. Did she really just ask that? Were both of their current thoughts. "Sakura, I think he'll be okay," Naruto said with a sweat drop on the back of his head. With everything he need to say being said, he decided to proceed with the test. "Begin." Once he said those words, all 3 of the genin disappeared from in front of him. "Stealth is a major ally for any and all shinobi," Kakashi said while looking around at where they were hiding. Seems they've hid pretty well." Sakura was currently under a bush while Sasuke seemed to be up in a tree, and Naruto was. Kakashi's lone visible eye widened. "What? Where's Naruto? I can't even sense him." With Naruto. Naruto was currently hiding in a tree while masking his chakra to the point it seemed non-existent. He was currently in a tree that allowed him to see both his teammates and his sensei. Okay, it's pretty obvious what this test is about. The reason all genin are paired up with 2 others is to accomplish teamwork. This is a test to see if a team can work as a team, hence the 2 bells, a distraction to try to oppose the genin against each other, were his current thoughts. He had already a vague understanding it would be about teamwork. The thing he was missing though was why the fail rate was so high, and then Kakashi brought in the 2 bells, filling in the missing piece. "Somehow I gotta get them to work with me. Well, first thing to do in battle is to gather information, so the best way to proceed would be to confront Kakashi while trying to get a read on his skills and speed while allowing both Sasuke and Sakura a chance to pick up on." With a plan decided, he vanished from his perch on the tree and was now standing in the clearing across from a surprised Kakashi, although he hid any signs of being surprised. Why would he reveal himself when I couldn't even find him? What is he up to? "Hee Kakashi, before anyone else can get involved, how about you and me have a little spar?" Naruto said, while Kakashi was gauging how to react. Seeing no problems, he agreed while both of them got in a ready position. "Come on Naruto, show me how much you've grown." "Shinobi fighting lesson number 1, Taijutsu," Kakashi said, while both he and Naruto were gauging the other, wondering who would attack first. Kakashi was planning to bring out his precious book as a form of handicap during the test, but he decided otherwise and instead focused on Naruto. Naruto was currently trying to figure out what level of exposure he should reveal. Maybe stick with level 1 for now with the skills of a high genin. Naruto decided to put his plan, so he began by creating cross-shaped hand sign while shouting out Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and with a poof of smoke there were now 6 Narutos instead of 1. This ended up shocking Kakashi, which could be seen with his lone eye being wider than usual. How does he know a Jounin level jutsu? Wait, now I see the forbidden scroll. 3 of the Narutos then proceeded to charge Kakashi, interrupting any further thoughts on the matter. 2 of the clones went for a roundhouse kick from both the right and left side, aiming for his chest and head, making Kakashi duck down only to position himself for the oncoming uppercut, which would have hit if Kakashi hadn't bent backwards to dodge it. "Impressive, to coordinate the clones to position me for a follow-up attack. were Kakashi's current thoughts while he was dodging and weaving the attacks from the three Narutos. Kakashi decided he has had enough and dispatched two of the clones by catching oncoming kicks from both directions and slamming them into each other, making them burst. He then dispatched the third one by dodging the incoming punch and chopping him on the back of the neck. 3 down now, there are just the 2 others and the original. He not back Kakashi, but how about we move on to the next part of the shinobi lessons? Naruto said when his 2 clones then started to perform some hand signs. Second part, I guess he means ninjutsu. Wait, those hand signs, Kakashi thought with alarm. Naruto then proceeded to shout out the name of the jutsu futon. Glitter storm. Wind release. Glitter storm. And with a gust of wind, all the leaves around Naruto were then blown towards Kakashi at alarming speeds. Again, impressive. He's using his surroundings to his advantage, in this case the leaves from the trees. Katan. Hausenka no Jutsu. Fire release. Phoenix Immortal Fire. Kakashi called out before he blew out multiple fireballs to destroy the leaves before they could reach him, while creating a wall of smoke blocking both sides from viewing each other. Finally, when the smoke was cleared, Kakashi found himself standing alone in the clearing with Naruto returning to his hiding spot. He used the smoke to his advantage, but why did he challenge me in the first place? Unless, it seems he not only figured out the meaning of the test but also acted as a true shinobi should. Now to see if the other 2 picked up on what Naruto was trying to show them, Kakashi thought while glancing at his other 2 students. Sasuke was currently glaring at where his teammate once stood. How is the dobe that strong? Well, no matter, he's still no match to an Uchiha like me. While Sakura was trying to find Sasuke and seemed to barely have paid attention to the fight at all. Sadly, it seems neither of them picked up on what Naruto was trying to hint to them. Now that I've tested Naruto, I guess it's about time to test the other 2, Kakashi thought before he disappeared from the clearing. With Sakura. Sakura was still looking for Sasuke, but then she heard something behind her. Turning around thinking it's Sasuke, she was surprised to see the face of her sensei, with an eye smile behind her. Yo! Kakashi then dissolved into leaves that then started to rotate around Sakura, with her falling into a hypnotic state. Then all the leaves disappeared with Sakura snapping out of it. Wah! What just happened? She said while looking around her. Sakura. She heard from behind a bush. To her excitement, she recognized the voice as Sasuke. She then ran towards and around the bush shouting out, Sasuke-kun! What she saw though was an injured Sasuke leaning against a tree with multiple kunai and shurikens sticking out of his body, with one leg twisted in a way it shouldn't be and an arm that was cut off. Sakura, help me. Kya was heard throughout the training ground as Sakura proceeded to faint. Kakashi was currently observing how the girl had fallen under his genjutsu. Maybe that was a bit too much. Her record said she was at the top of her class though. He mumbled to himself with a sweat drop. With Sasuke. Sasuke became alert at the sound of the scream that flooded throughout the training ground. That scream. Shinobi fighting lesson number 2 genjutsu. Sakura fell for it pretty easily, Kakashi said from behind Sasuke, while he was leaning against a tree. Genjutsu, huh? Yeah, she would fall for that, but I'm not the same as them, Sasuke said. He seems so sure of himself. Well, let's see what he can do, Kakashi thought while he was studying the Uchiha. And why do you believe that you're so different? I mean, Naruto seemed to fight pretty well. Sasuke glared at the mention of the dobe's name. I don't know how the dobe was able to do what he did, but I am an Uchiha. I am the elite of the elite. There is no way a dobe like him could compare to me. Kakashi could only sigh and shake his head at the bold act of arrogance. That arrogance will get him killed if he always thinks of himself superior to everyone. Sasuke then bent down and pulled out several and tossed them towards Kakashi, who proceeded to dodge them easily. But it seemed it was never the Uchiha's plan to hit him with them, for instead they ended up hitting a rope that then released many knives right in the direction of Kakashi. A trap. Kakashi again dodged, this time into the air, while all the knives passed by him and impaled themselves in a tree. The moment Kakashi landed, he was then greeted with a kick from behind delivered by the Uchiha, which Kakashi then blocked before it could hit him. Then he grabbed his ankle, locking him in place. But it seemed Sasuke wasn't done yet, as he threw a punch at Kakashi's head, while his foot was still trapped. Once again, though, the attack was useless as it was caught in the free hand of Kakashi, who was then assaulted by another kick from the Uchiha's other foot. Kakashi ended up crossing his arms while still holding on to the Uchiha's limbs to block the oncoming overhead kick. It seemed though it was all a distraction though for Sasuke's real plan, as he then tried to grab the bell with his free hand. Seeing this, Kakashi let go off Sasuke and jumped back out of his reach while Sasuke could only touch the bell just barely. I'll admit that was pretty impressive. He was even able to touch one of the bells, were Kakashi's current thoughts. Kakashi though was in for another surprise as Sasuke started to perform a set of hand signs ending up on the tiger hand sign. He then reared his head back while puffing up his cheeks in preparation for the jutsu. Katan. Gukakyu no Jutsu. Fire release. Great fireball technique, he thought in his mind while he released the jutsu in the form of a giant fireball heading towards Kakashi. What? Kakashi said while his thoughts were, a genin shouldn't have enough chakra to perform that jutsu. The fireball then hit where Kakashi was standing, leaving a crater in the ground. But there were no signs of Kakashi. He's gone in the air. No, on the sides, where is he? Below you, Sasuke heard from below him, answering his thoughts while Kakashi's hand shot up from the ground grabbing his ankle. Doton? Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu. Earth release. Double suicide decapitation technique. With a yell, Sasuke was dragged into the ground up to his head, while Kakashi was squatting in front of him looking down upon him. Shinobi fighting lesson number 3 ninjutsu. I'll admit he was pretty good for a genin, but he still has a long way to go, Kakashi thought while he was walking away from Sasuke. But I have a feeling that Naruto still has more to offer. With Naruto had been watching the confrontations between his team and his sensei, trying to gauge the strengths and skills of both sides. It seems like the fight with me and Sasuke surprised and interested Kakashi, but he still has yet to reveal his Sharingan. But Sakura. Naruto decided he had gathered enough information and decided to try to get his team to work as one to overcome this test. Now who to start with? On one side we have an arrogant Uchiha who would rather die than work with someone and see them as an equal, and on the other we have a useless fangirl. I wonder if it's too late to try to get different teammates, Naruto thought while sighing at what his team was made up of. It seems that Sakura is waking up now. I guess I should try to get her to team up first before she does something stupid, and also seeing as the Uchiha can't go anywhere, Naruto thought while chuckling to himself about the last part. So with his thoughts gathered, Naruto started to head to where Sakura was as she was waking up from unconsciousness. Hey Sakura, Naruto said when he was next to Sakura after waiting for her to get enough coherence to understand him. What do you want, Naruto Baka? Wait, never mind, I've got to find Sasuke, she said, then completely ignored him to find her crush. Naruto's eye started to twitch. Calm down. Calm down. You need her to pass this test. He ran and caught up with Sakura, who was searching around for Sasuke. Look Sakura, I think I know what the point of this test is and how we can all pass, he said, trying to gain her attention only to fail with her ignoring him. The two finally happened upon the sight of Sasuke's seemingly bodiless head, which caused Sakura to scream again and faint again. While that was happening, Naruto had watched on. This may be harder than I thought. So Naruto decided to try his other teammate who was trying to figure out a way to free himself. Hey Sasuke, I think I know a way to pass this test. Quiet Dobe, I don't need your help, Sasuke said while not even looking at him. Naruto ended up gaining a tick mark but tried to calm himself down. Calm down, just try again and make him see reason. I'm screwed. So for several minutes Naruto was alternating in either trying to reason with Sasuke or trying to wake up his unconscious teammate. Both failed. Sasuke would not allow himself to work with the Dobe because of his arrogance, while it seemed as the fangirl was out cold. Finally the bell rang, signaling the end of the test, making Naruto groan at how his trying to get the team to work as a team failed, and now they all failed. With Kakashi. Kakashi had been watching the whole time as Naruto tried and failed to get his teammates to work together. Sorry Naruto, maybe next time you can get a better team. That might even be a good thing. See this team, although the council is going to kill me once the Uchiha fails. Clearing in front of the tree stumps. In the clearing, Sasuke and Sakura were currently tied to a tree stump while Naruto was sitting down with a box of lunch in front of him. Well, about the training, it seems like only Naruto will have to go back to the academy, Kakashi said to the group. Sasuke immediately got a smirk. It seems like the Dobe is still a dead last. Unlike me, who is an elite. You two, on the other hand, should quit as shinobi, Kakashi said, ending the duo's parade, so to speak. What do you mean I should quit being a shinobi? Sasuke said while glaring at Kakashi. Also, why not the dobe? Because the two of you are just punks that don't deserve to be shinobi, Kakashi said, gaining a reaction from the Uchiha. The reaction was for him to charge out in anger at their sensei, only for him to be stopped with Kakashi now sitting on him with his arm held behind his back and his foot on his head. That's why you're a punk. You are underestimating ninjas. Why do you think you were separated into teams? Kakashi said with a deathly serious look, only to gain a confused look from Sakura while Naruto seemed to understand. The reason only Naruto should continue being a ninja is because he understood the answer and reason to the test. But you two continued to blow him off. For that I am sorry to Naruto that you failed, and I hope you can get a better team next year. Huh? Answer, what does that mean? And how did Naruto figure it out? Sakura questioned. She got her answer, but not from Kakashi. The answer was teamwork. Naruto is right. The reason for this test was to get all of you to work as a team. Alone it would be impossible for you to pass. But if you work together you would actually have a chance, Kakashi said, proving Naruto's answer correct. What do you mean by teamwork? There were only 2 bells, Sakura shouted out. Again Naruto was the one to provide the answer. The bells were only a distraction. The bells were never the means to pass. They were only supposed to make us try to work alone instead of as a team. Again Naruto is correct. The test was made to make you fight amongst yourselves. The purpose is to see if you can forget about your own interest and work as a team, Kakashi said, backing up Naruto's answer again. But instead only Naruto was able to do this. Sakura, you would always ignore Naruto and obsess over Sasuke. Sasuke, you would always ignore both of your teammates to work alone. Even though individual power is important, teamwork is even more important. As a team, if even one flaw disrupts the team, then you will end up putting your teammates in danger. I'll give you one more chance after lunch, but this time I will make it even harder than before. Sasuke and Sakura are not allowed any lunch. And Naruto, if you feed them then you will all fail, Kakashi said before walking away. Instead of leaving though, he was watching over the team to see how they would act. Knowing Naruto, he will most likely try to give his team some food. Now the only problem is whether the other two will accept the food. As Kakashi had deduced, Naruto did indeed try to offer the duo his lunch. Hey guys, since I had breakfast earlier, I'm not that hungry. You two should eat, so you can regain your strength. They both ended up accepting the food, although not for the reason that they should have. Sasuke only accepted it for his arrogance. That's right, Dobe. You should be proud that your food is being used by an Uchiha. While Sakura was only following Sasuke's lead. The moment both of them took a bite of the food, though, an explosion of smoke happened right in front of them. After I just told you not to, you do it the minute I walk away, said Kakashi, who charged right at them. You guys all, he started as he continued to charge at them, while Sakura was screaming and turned away, and Sasuke ended up flinching. All the while Naruto was sitting still while keeping his eyes upon Kakashi. Pass, he finished with an eye smile. Wait, what do you mean pass? Sakura asked in confusion. A ninja must see underneath the underneath. You three are the first who ever passed, and the others would always do what I told them. They were fools. A friend of mine once told me, those who break the rules and codes of the ninja world are trash, but those who abandon their teammates are lower than trash. Naruto closed his eyes and gave a nod of understanding. He must be talking about Obito. That ends the training, you all pass. As of tomorrow, Team 7 will begin their ninja duties, Kakashi said while giving a thumbs up. Hey Kakashi, let's go get some ramen to celebrate, Naruto said cheerfully. Sure Naruto, I'll buy. With that, the duo walked of leaving the training ground and headed over to Ichiraka's ramen. But they ended up forgetting a certain other duo. Hey untie us / how dare you leave an elite like me here. Time skip several weeks later. Woods. Team 7 was currently in the woods, darting from tree to tree, sneaking up upon their target. What's the distance to the target? Kakashi asked into his headpiece. 5 meters, was the response, along with all three of them saying in one way or another that they were ready. Go. And with that, all of three of them darted towards their target, which was a cat. Sasuke and Sakura first dived at the cat, trying to catch it so they could get the mission over with. but instead the moment they picked up the cat it scratched them both across the face several times. Then all of a sudden there was a shadow behind the cat that then lashed out and grabbed the cat. Kakashi then came over to the group to make sure it was the right target and came upon the sight of two of his teammates glaring at the cat that was currently purring in delight while being petted by one Naruto Uzumaki. Ribbon on the left ear. Yup, this is Tora, Kakashi said while inspecting the said ribbon before he lead his team back into the village to report the mission a success. Hokage's Tower. Team 7 had just handed over Tora to the Fire Daimyo's wife. Oh my cute little Tora, I was so worried. Sasuke and Sakura were smirking at how it seemed as if the cat was being smothered to death by the Fire Daimyo's wife, while Naruto's thoughts were along the lines of, no wonder the cat always runs away. Now Kakashi's Team 7, your next duty is babysitting an elder's grandson, shopping in the neighboring village, and help with the potato digging, the Hokage said, before all of a sudden Tora was seen charging out of the room while a shout of Tora could be heard from the Fire Daimyo's wife, and catching Tora again. And oh, an elite like me shouldn't be doing useless crap like this. This should be what the dobe has to do. Sasuke suddenly shouted, being fed up with all the D-rank missions that had them only doing stuff that it seemed like people were too lazy to do. Yes, Sasuke's right, Sasuke is way too good for missions like these. Which was the follow-up of his loyal fangirl. Sadly, I have to agree with him, well, not the last part, but missions like these ones are a complete waste of time, were Naruto's thoughts, although he was reluctant about agreeing with the Uchiha in anything even if what he said was true, or partly true in this case. Kakashi was just sighing to himself knowing this would happen sooner or later, although this might be a chance to see what Naruto is truly capable of without holding back. You idiot. You are just a rookie. Everyone starts with simple duties and works their way up. Irika shouted, while getting Sasuke pissed off. How dare he call me an idiot? The Hokage just sighed to himself before speaking to the genin. It seems I have to explain to you what duties are all about. Hiruzen then started to go on and on about the importance of missions and how they were separated by rank and given to ninjas of certain ranks, although Naruto just tuned him out and was mumbling to himself about what he should have for dinner. Hey Gigi, why don't you just give us C rank? I'm pretty sure me and Kakashi can handle things if things go south. Naruto spoke up once the Hokage was done with his lecture. Everyone turned their gaze towards Naruto, with the Uchiha glaring at Naruto. How dare that dobe think I would need saving, and by him no less. Hokage-sama, could I speak to you for a second? Kakashi said, getting a nod from the Hokage. Kakashi then walked up to the Hokage and whispered to him, so that his genin team couldn't hear him. Hokage-sama, I think we should go with Naruto's idea. He started getting a raised eyebrow in return. Why do you think that, Kakashi? Do you think your team's ready? Yes, but not only that, during the test Naruto proved himself to hold great skills, but it seemed as if he was holding back as if not to reveal how strong he really is. Then there is also him being gone for a year. I would like to use this as a chance to gauge Naruto's skills to see if he may reveal more of it, Kakashi said while getting the Hokage to start thinking about the proposal. I would have to agree with Kakashi. I would also like to see what Naruto's learned over the year. Maybe this will give us a chance to find out what happened. All right, I've decided, he said loud enough for the genin to hear. I'll give you a C-rank mission. It's a protection mission of a certain individual. With his statement and got the attention of the team, while Naruto decided to ask a certain question. Hey Gigi, who are we protecting? Give it a second, he will be here any moment now, he said before a drunken man walked into the room gaining everyone's attention. What's this? They are all a bunch of brats. One of them even has a blindfold on, he said with a while drinking a bottle of sake. How dare you call an Uchiha a brat? Sasuke said while being backed up by his fangirl. Sasuke's right. Naruto could only sweat drop and shake his head. Don't worry, sir. Even with this blindfold, I am still aware of my surroundings. This caught everyone's attention. Now they thought about it, how could he get around so well while wearing the blindfold? Kakashi decided to ask, Naruto, now that I think about it, how are, as you put it, aware of your surroundings? Oh, I never told you, did I? Well, I basically have incredible skills in being a sensor to the point where I can even create an artificial image with chakra of my surroundings, so I basically can see, just not in details. I can still tell people apart though by chakra signatures. he said as if it was something simple, while the people in the room who were Chunin and above were looking at the boy in shock with thoughts along the line of, such skill, what he just said has never even been heard of before except from some of the best censors, but even then to do it 24/7 is just amazing. While the drunk seemed to be a little skeptical, then how many fingers am I holding up? He asked. 2, now 1, now 4, 6, but you quickly changed it to 5, was his answer while he kept holding up a different amount of fingers up. Wow, that's pretty neat. I think I'm gonna like this boy, he said while letting out a cheerful laugh. Sorry, haven't introduced myself yet. The name's Tazuna. The Hokage watched the little scene with amusement while he was also a little impressed. In just a few minutes he's already on friendly terms with the client, a client that was looking down upon him too. Well, like I just said, I am Tazuna, a super expert bridge builder, and I need protection until I get back to my country and complete the bridge, Tazuna said while turning serious. Just outside Konoha. The group had just made it outside of the gates of Konoha and was now heading along to their destination. But all the while they were being looked upon by 2 shadows. Any chatting was mainly done between Naruto, Kakashi, and Tazuna, until Sakura decided to ask Kakashi a question with something to do about if there were any ninjas in Wave. Naruto mostly just tuned it out while Kakashi went on about how Wave didn't have any ninjas while other countries did and how their customs were different. Then he went on about the 5 major shinobi villages and the different kages. But don't worry, you won't encounter any ninjas, this is only a C-rank mission, Kakashi said while ending his lecture. Although when he said this, Tazuna seemed to be unusually serious, catching Naruto's attention. The group then saw a puddle in front of them, although Kakashi and Naruto were able to figure it out with just a glance that it was a genjutsu, although Naruto had to sweat drop at the caster's stupidity. Who are they trying to fool? It hasn't rained for a while now. Naruto gave Kakashi a questioning glance out of the corner of his eye, only to get a small shake of the head that looked barely even noticeable. From what I can sense, there's 2 ninja about Chunin level, although just barely. Hey, the 2 were completely dominated by Sasuke, who may be talented for a genin, is still just that, a genin, while the 2 of them were Chunin. The group then walked past the puddle, and finally when Kakashi had just passed by the puddle, the 2 Chunin released the genjutsu and charged at Kakashi while wrapping him up with the razor chain connecting the 2. If you read the manga or watched the anime, you know what they look like, so I'm not going to explain them, nor will I explain how anyone from canon looks unless I do something original with them. The people of the group who did not know of the 2 were immediately surprised by their appearance, as Kakashi also acted shocked. 1 down. And with that, the 2 yanked on the chain and ended up ripping Kakashi to pieces. The duo then charged towards Naruto while one of them saying, 2 down. Naruto could only shake his head. Idiots, probably thought I was an easy target because of the blindfold. Naruto had to figure out what to do though. He couldn't just immediately take them both down because then they would never find out who their target was. So he decided to just dodge the chain they tried to wrap around him while giving them a clear path towards Tazuna. Now if they are after us, then they will keep after me, but if they are after Tazuna, then this will seem like the perfect chance for them, Naruto thought while glancing towards Kakashi out of the corner of his eye to see if he was ready to protect their client if he was indeed their target. Just as he suspected, they turned away from him and headed straight towards Tazuna. The old man has some explaining to do. Just before they could reach the bridge builder, though, the duo were caught and knocked out by their Jounin sensei, allowing everyone to see that instead of pieces of his body lying around, they saw it was chunks of a log. Tazuna-san, Kakashi said, getting a stuttering response in return. What is it? These 2 are Chunin-ranked shinobi from Kirigakure. Kakashi then told the group how he had found out about the Chunin lying in wait along with Naruto, gaining a glare from Sasuke at being outdone by the dope. He then went on about how he needed to find out who their target was when Tazuna asked why he faked his death. We haven't heard there were shinobi after you. Our mission was to simply protect you from bandits and gangs. This has now become at least a B-rank mission, now that there are ninjas after you. I'm sure you have reasons, but this could cause problems when you lie about mission details. We are now operating outside of our duties, Kakashi said. Unknown location. You failed? Was the shout of a little man towards a shirtless man with bandages wrapped around his mouth who was currently sitting down. I spent a lot of money to hire you because I heard you were skilled ninjas. The man he was shouting at, though, lifted up his giant sword and pointed it straight at him, making the short man sweat nervously. "Quit you bitching. This time I'll go and kill them." "Are you sure?" the short man asked. "They hired some shinobi, and now they will be more cautious." "Who do you think I am?" the masked man said while narrowing his eyes. "There's a reason I'm called the Devil of the Hidden Mist, Momochi Zabuza." Chapter 6. Surprises in Wave. Outside Wave. You can skip to the next part if you don't want to hear Tezuna's explanation. It's basically taken right from the manga. "Sensei, I want to talk to you," Tezuna said to Kakashi. "It's about this mission. You're right, this job is most likely outside of your duties. It turns out that a super dangerous man is after my life," Tezuna continued, revealing to the group what is really going on. "Super dangerous man?" Kakashi asked while narrowing his eye at Tezuna. "Who?" "You've probably at least heard his name before, the wealthy shipping magnate. A man named Gatu." At this revelation, Kakashi's eye ended up widening. Gatu, as in Gatu Company. He's said to be the world's few extremely wealthy people. Yes, officially he runs a large shipping company, but secretly he sells drugs and other illegal items using ninjas and gang members to take over businesses and countries, the bridge builder said while confirming Kakashi's question. It was about a year ago when he set his eyes on the Wave Country. Through money and violence he took control of the shipping industry, Tezuna said while explaining why Gatu was even involved. Gatu now has a monopoly on all business traffic in the country. The only thing he fears now is the completion of the bridge. No wonder the old drunk's his target. He's the only thing in his way. This could even make Gatu desperate to have him killed. Who knows what we might end up facing, were Naruto's thoughts upon the matter at hand. "But what I don't understand is if you know ninjas could be after you, why did you hide that face when you hired us?" Kakashi questioned, wondering what the man's reason was. "The Wave Country is super poor. Even the feudal lord has no money. Of course we don't have enough money for an expensive B-rank mission," Tezuna said, revealing the reason. "Well, if you quit the mission now, I will definitely be killed, but don't worry about it. If I die, my cute 10-year-old grandson will just cry for a few days. Oh yeah, my daughter will be sad for the rest of her life, hating the Leaf Village ninjas forever. But it won't be your fault. Not at all," Tezuna said while laying down the mother of all guilt trips. "He's trying to guilt trip us? Crafty old man." Naruto could only think with a smirk on his face. He then took a glance to see Kakashi slumped forward with his visible eye twitching while he was speechless. "Well, I guess we have no choice. We will protect you at least until you get back to your country," Kakashi could only say while Tezuna's thoughts were along the lines of, "I win." On a boat. Team 7 was currently on a boat heading towards Wave, and at this moment they could see the bridge that was being built by Tezuna. The group could only look in wonder how huge the bridge was, while also being alert for anyone who may be hostile. Well, except for Sakura, who was currently taking glances at Sasuke with a blush on her face. The boat continued until they reached a rundown dock out of sight, but they had finally reached Wave. "Okay, get me home safely," Tezuna said while the group started to head towards said home in the direction of the village. Kakashi was currently giving out a dejected sigh at the thought that their next opponent will probably be a ninja of Jounin level. Kakashi and Naruto's attention was immediately drawn to a rustling bush though, with Naruto disappearing only to reappear a second later coming out of the bush while holding a white rabbit by the scruff of its neck. Naruto then glanced towards Kakashi, both immediately catching onto the color of its fur. In a tree above the group a shadow was lurking while looking down upon the group, its attention drawn towards the Jounin of the group. No wonder the brothers didn't stand a chance, the Hidden Leaf's copy ninja, the Sharingan Kakashi. "Everyone get down!" Kakashi shouted when he heard something slicing through the air behind them. Everyone dived down with Naruto tackling Tezuna to the ground. Immediately afterwards a giant Zanbato came spinning through the air, passing right over their heads. The Zanbato ended up slicing into the trunk of a tree, while a moment later a man appeared right on the hilt of the Zanbato. Kakashi's visible eye narrowed once he identified who the assailant was. Naruto, on the other hand, was wary of the amount of chakra the assailant was giving off. This person has chakra levels of that of a high Jounin. If things take a turn for the worse, I might end up revealing part of my strength much earlier than I thought I would. Well, if it isn't Momochi Zabuza, the demon of the hidden mist, Kakashi said while identifying who the owner of the Zanbato was. Wait, did he just say Zabuza as in one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist? I was right, I'll most likely have to reveal I'm much stronger than I gave off. Naruto's thoughts were since he could not identify the man because he had never felt his chakra signature before. Everybody get back. This one is on a whole other level, Kakashi said before he grabbed the left side of his headband. It will be a little tough, unless I do this. You appear to be Sharingan Kakashi. Sorry, but the old man is mine, Zabuza said while revealing to the group what was being covered up by his headband. Naruto took a glance at Sasuke out of the corner of his eye to see what his reaction would be, and the reaction he got was one of pure shock at the mention of the Uchiha's clan Dojutsu. Surround and protect the client. Do not enter the fight, Kakashi said with deadly seriousness in his voice before he pulled his headband up and off his eye to reveal the Sharingan. The Sharingan is a special physical condition that only appears in a select few members of the Uchiha clan. Could he be? Sasuke could only wonder. Naruto saw this and could only sigh to himself. I know what you're thinking, and you're wrong. Enough talking. The old man is my target, Zabuza said while the team of genin immediately surrounded Tazuna while guarding him from anything that may wish to do him harm. But it seems I will have to beat you first, Kakashi. After he said this, he jumped off his Zanbato while pulling it out of the tree and strapping it to his back. He then proceeded to land on the water ninpu. Kirigakure no Jutsu, Ninja Art, Hidden Mist Jutsu. The area was then covered by a thick layer of mist, making it nearly impossible to see. Kakashi then decided to speak up. He'll come after me first. Momochi Zabuza, as a member of the Hidden Mist, he was known as an expert in silent killing. 8 choices: liver, lungs, spine, clavicle vein, neck vein, brain, kidneys, and heart. Which one should I go after? A voice said, sounding as if it came from all directions. Sasuke was sweating like crazy under the killer pressure being released. I can't take it. I'd almost rather die now and get it over with, he thought while he slowly started to bring his kunai up to his neck. Before anything could happen though, 2 fingers grabbed the kunai, stopping him from moving it any further. He then heard a chuckle beside him. Relax? Or is this too much for an elite Uchiha? Looking to the side, he saw the smirking face of one Naruto Uzumaki. He then gave off a weak glare. How is the dobe not affected by all this killer intent? That's right, there's no way an elite like myself should be worried if the dobe seems fine. Naruto had his own thoughts at the moment though that had nothing to do with the Uchiha. Damn, all this mist is messing up my sensing ability, especially with all the chakra in the mist. Wait, all the chakra has to be coming from somewhere, so if I can follow it to the source, shit. Not a second later, Zabuza appeared in the middle of all 3 of them and in front of Tazuna. It's over. He tried to take a swing with his Zanbato only to be knocked back towards Kakashi. Looking back at what had hit him, all he saw was the genin with the blindfold standing near where he just was with his foot extended. Did that genin just push me back? Impossible. He then looked down to see a kunai being stabbed into him from Kakashi, who had used the chance when Zabuza was knocked into him. But instead of blood, only water was dripping out. Behind Kakashi, another Zabuza appeared and sliced him in half, only for him to disperse into water, just as Zabuza's clone had done moments ago. No way. In this mist he still copied it, Zabuza thought in shock. Then behind him he heard the voice of Kakashi say, "Don't move, it's over." But to everyone's surprise, instead of giving up, Zabuza started laughing. You don't get it. There is no way you can defeat me with you imitations. But it was impressive. You had your Bunshin stand guard while you waited in the mist. Nice plan. But I'm not that easy. The last part Kakashi had heard behind him, while the Zabuza in front of him revealed itself to be another Mizu Bunshin. The real Zabuza then performed a wide horizontal swing, trying to slice Kakashi in half, only for Kakashi to duck under the swing. Zabuza then lashed out with his right leg, which Kakashi blocked only to be sent flying into the water. Zabuza then appeared behind Kakashi while performing a set of hand seals, Heful, Suiro no Jutsu, Water Prison Jutsu. Kakashi was then contained in a ball of water, making it impossible for him to escape. You tried to escape to the water? Big mistake. Now that I have you, I'll take care of them. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, Water Clone Jutsu. and out of the water emerged a perfect replica of Zabuza. Crap, he was stronger than I expected. And now I'm trapped, Kakashi thought while worried about his genin team. Sigh, well, I guess it's time I fight. Might as well use the Keyblade, Naruto thought while he focused on his hand, which was gripped as if it was holding something. Zabuza's clone then charged straight at them with the intent to kill and complete his mission. Just brats, the real Zabuza said while observing the genin team. Take Tazuna and run. You have no chance of beating him and he can't move while I'm trapede. The Mizu Bunshin can't go very far, form his real body, just run. Kakashi shouted out towards the group, hoping to not have to lose anyone else. The clone was about to swing his sword at the target in front of him, which happened to be Naruto. What the clone didn't see was the smirk on his face. With a flash of light, Naruto disappeared from the clone's sight only to reappear behind it, with the clone having a diagonal gash across his chest. The real Zabuza could only watch in shock at how the genin had defeated his clone in a split second. Impossible. Even though that clone wasn't as strong as me, it still should have been strong enough to deal with those genin. He then took a closer look at which of the genin had defeated his clone, only for his eyes to widen. For the one standing there was the blonde genin with a blindfold over his eyes while he was propping on his shoulder what looked like a giant key. That's the same Gaki who kicked me earlier and was able to push me back. I thought it was just a fluke, but now, Zabuza thought while narrowing his eyes upon the enigma. Also, what's with that giant key? Is that supposed to be a weapon? I'll tell you this right now, there is no way some clone will be able to take me on, Naruto said with a cocky smirk that made Zabuza further narrow his eyes, only for them to widen when the Gaki disappeared from next to the bridge builder, only to appear in front of him while he was in the middle of a downward slash. Zabuza had just barely brought his Zanbato in front of him to block the blow. There is no way a genin should be able to move that fast. Hell, even a jounin would have some trouble. Naruto then started to rain down a barrage of blows towards Zabuza, with him just barely being able to block the blows. Damn, I can't keep this up with just one hand. Not only are his attacks fast, but they're also strong. Zabuza was in for a surprise though when Naruto's next attack was faster than all the rest, making his eyes widen. Damn. Are you telling me he was holding back? Zabuza had no other choice but to stop the jutsu that was keeping Kakashi contained as he dodged backwards just out of reach from the attack. Damn. Now not only do I have to worry about Kakashi being free, I also have to worry about this Gaki, who probably hasn't even gone all out yet. Zabuza thought while sweating nervously, for the genin had already shown he could go even faster, so who's to say that was his limit? Naruto decided to use this moment to his advantage and charged at Zabuza once again, laying down another barrage of attacks. Zabuza seemed to be able to block his attacks better now though, since both of his hands were free, so Naruto decided that instead of increasing his speed yet again, he would put the ability of his current Keyblade to use. Naruto then allowed himself to overswing, making it look as if he let himself wide open, which Zabuza had decided to take advantage of. With one mighty downward swing of his Zanbato with all of his strength behind it, he aimed straight for the blonde's head, only for the blow to be blocked. The boy had moved at a speed that would have seemed impossible and brought his Keyblade up to block the swing, but what shocked many of the people there was that he was doing it one-handed. He, the Kingdom King, known to have immense defensive capabilities, Naruto said while not even moving an inch no matter how much power Zabuza would put into his swing. Naruto then pushed Zabuza's sword off to the side to sail by him harmlessly, while using his free hand to punch Zabuza straight in the gut, making the man double over and cough up blood. What the hell? Not only did he block me with one hand, but his punch is like nothing I've ever felt before. Zabuza could only wince at the pain he was feeling, pretty sure that his insides were turned to mush. Nice going, Naruto, Kakashi said while he appeared next to Naruto. Incredible, he actually defeated him with a single punch. How strong are you, Naruto? Now I think it's about time we end this, the Copy-nin said while pulling out a kunai and heading towards Zabuza, who was now on his knees while holding his gut. But before Kakashi could end the man's life himself, two Sunban embedded themselves into Zabuza's neck, killing him instantly. Everyone's eyes widened in shock before looking at the sources of where the weapons were thrown from. They saw a masked figure standing on a tree branch above them, while Kakashi immediately went over to Zabuza's body to check if he was truly dead. Thank you very much. I have been searching for the opportunity to kill Zabuza for a long time, the masked figure said to them while lowering his head in a bow. That mask, you're a Kirigakure Hunter Nin, Kakashi stated as he saw the design on the mask. The figure gave a nod before using a shunshin, body flicker technique, to appear next to Zabuza's body. Your battle is over now, and now I must dispose of this body. Farewell. The figure said while using a shunshin again to disappear with Zabuza's body. Why would the Hunter Nin take the body and not just dispose of it here? They usually only need the head for identification. Naruto thought with suspicion and decided to bring it up later with Kakashi when they are alone. Kakashi then pulled his headband back over his Sharingan. Now we have to get Tazuna-san back home. Let's go. Right after he said this though, he started to fall forward only to be caught by Naruto. Sheesh-sensei. You know how much your Sharingan drains you. Tazuna's house. Kakashi was currently lying in a futon recovering after his battle with Zabuza. Are you alright, sensei? The person who had asked this was Tazuna's daughter Tsunami, who was currently looking after the exhausted Jounin. Yeah, but I can't move for a week or so. Kakashi then went on explaining to the group what the Hunter Nin were, although Naruto had already learned this during his year away. Forest. The Hunter Nin was currently crouched over Zabuza's body about to take the sunbon out of his neck, only to be stopped by Zabuza himself. That's all right, I'll do it myself. He then proceeded to yank the two sunbon out of his neck. You shouldn't be so rough. You really will die if you pull them out like that. The Hunter Nin then took the mask off to show the face of a young girl. If I hadn't saved you, you would have died. You shouldn't be able to move for about a week, the girl explained to Zabuza. Will you be all right next time? Zabuza could only sigh at this. If it was just Kakashi, I would say yes. But that Gaki, he's strong, really strong, he said while putting a hand over his gut, which was bruising up. You're right, he is strong. It actually seemed as if you weren't even a challenge to him, and it also seemed as if he wasn't even going full strength, the girl said, commenting on how the fight looked to her. Zabuza could only nod. You're right. We might actually have to be more on the lookout for him than Kakashi. The two could only think in grim contemplation of what was set before them and their mission. Tazuna's house. Naruto had just entered the room Kakashi had been staying in while recovering from his chakra exhaustion. Kakashi had figured out what it was Naruto wanted to take about once he saw the serious look on Naruto's face. For it was actually something he had been thinking about over the past few days. This is about Zabuza and the Hunter Nin, isn't it? Kakashi questioned, getting a nod in return. Yes, usually the body should have been destroyed right there and only the head should have been taken, but the Hunter Nin actually took his body, Naruto stated. Then there's the Hunter Nin's choice of weapon which was used to dispatch Zabuza, he continued, with Kakashi deciding to speak up. Senbon. They could be used to hit a pressure point to induce a momentary death. So we agree then, Zabuza is still alive, Kakashi said, again getting a nod in return. Kakashi decided to ask a question that had been plaguing his mind since the encounter on the bridge. So, Naruto, do you mind explaining to me how it is you were able to not only fight Zabuza, but also overpower him, and also what was that weapon you used? Naruto let out a sigh, knowing that this topic would eventually come up. Well, I guess to make this easier to understand, I'll tell you what happened right after I was ran out of Konoha. This made Kakashi wince, still blaming himself for not being able to protect Naruto. Well, as I already told you, I met a guy named Riku who ended up teaching me. What I didn't tell you was that before I met him, I acquired the power to wield a weapon known as the Keyblade. Keyblade? Kakashi questioned the unfamiliar term, but then thought about the shape of the weapon Naruto had wielded on the bridge. Well, it certainly did look like a giant key. The Keyblade is a weapon given to a chosen few to combat the darkness and beings known as Heartless, Naruto said. He decided to explain what a Heartless is before Kakashi could question him. The Heartless created from the darkness of a person's heart. They lose all ability to think and reason and rely on instinct. The Heartless usually attack people to create fellow Heartless and will only follow those that they deem as strong. This made Kakashi raise his eyebrow. Heartless. I've never heard of anything like what he is describing, nor have I seen anything like it. If you're wondering why you've never heard of them before, well, that's because the Heartless haven't appeared in this world yet. Naruto explained, getting a nod from Kakashi, only for Kakashi to freeze up once he focused on a word Naruto had said. World. Yes, world. There are actually many worlds out there. Riku was actually from an island world called Destiny Island and has actually traveled to many different worlds, Naruto said, further shocking Kakashi. Naruto, I'm having a hard time believing this, Kakashi said, getting a nod of understanding from Naruto, for who could immediately believe something that sounded so far-fetched. I know how it sounds, Kakashi, but everything I've told you so far is true. Remember how I told you that the Keyblade is only accessible to a select few? He questioned, receiving a nod. Well, when I said that, I meant that the Keyblade is given to a rare few across all of the worlds, meaning I'm probably the only person in this one who can wield it. Well, I'm digressing from the story. Anyway, after I was swept up by the stream, I found myself in a really weird dream. This dream had me confronting the darkness and also asking what it is I desire. I later learned that this dream was a way of unlocking the power of the Keyblade, with the dream deciding what path I would travel during my life. After the dream, I woke up and found myself in a bed in an abandoned building, recuperating from my wound that I had received. This was when I met Riku. I learned that I had been found by Riku, who happened upon me by pure chance, and he ended up bringing me there to heal. The thing is, Riku is also a Keyblade wielder, and he told me he sensed the power of the Keyblade radiating from me, which allowed him to figure out I was also a wielder. He then told me about the Keyblade and the power it would allow me to wield and also how to use it. He then asked me how it was I ended up with the wound I had, to which I told him what had happened, and after hearing this he decided to train me since I had nowhere to go at the time. During the time I was able to master the Keyblade and its power, along with my own skills, which allowed me to defeat Zabuza. While Naruto had been talking, Kakashi had been listening without interrupting. His mind, though, was currently popping up question after question. But one question that was at the front of his mind was, so if he can defeat Zabuza, then how strong is he really? He decided to ask a different question that was also at the front of his mind, though. Naruto, when you said powers of the Keyblade, what kind of powers does it give you? Naruto was currently thinking of how much to reveal to Kakashi. Finally, he decided what to tell him. Well, there are actually many different forms of the Keyblade. The one you saw me use against Zabuza was called the Kingdom Key. Its ability is an unbreakable guard, which I used to block Zabuza's attack in the end. The Keyblades are also capable of improving my physical attacks and my jutsus. The Kingdom Key, for instance, slightly increased my strength, while my jutsus were moderately increased. I am actually capable of wielding several different types of Keyblades. The Kingdom Key, however, was the first one I was able to use. The ability of the weapon Naruto had used amazed Kakashi. Not only do they increase his offensive strength, but they can also give him unique abilities. The unbreakable guard ability itself is amazing, since it seems it doesn't matter how strong the attack is. Wait a sec, didn't he say the Kingdom Key only slightly increased his strength? But that punch he gave Zabuza looked like it could even match Tsunade-sama's level. Does that mean it was mostly his own strength? Naruto, that's amazing. Why did you hide it during the bell test, though? Kakashi could only wonder why Naruto would hold back so much. If he were to use that kind of ability during the bell test, not only could he have been able to get the bells with ease, but he might have also been able to beat me. About that, I'm kinda trying to hide my true abilities, Naruto said sheepishly while scratching the back of his head. This caused Kakashi to raise his eyebrow. Why would you want to hide that kind of strength? Well, first off, I don't know how the village would react if they found out that the demon was capable of this kind of strength, Naruto explained. Then there's also the council. Kakashi immediately understood what Naruto was trying to say. He's right, the civilian councils and the elders always feared him getting stronger. Who knows how they would react? Naruto sighed, knowing that some of his true strength would be revealed to the village, though. If it was just Kakashi, I wouldn't have had to worry, but Sasuke and Sakura also saw me. They'll no doubt report to the council. Well, now that that's explained, I guess we should inform everyone else about Zabuza, Naruto said. With Sasuke. Sasuke was currently fuming on the inside. How the hell does the Dobe have that much power? The reason for his anger was how the Dobe completely outclassed him during the confrontation with Zabuza. Not only did he save Kakashi-sensei, but he was also able to push Zabuza back and even hurt him. If it wasn't for the Hunter Nin, then he surely would have defeated him. Sasuke thought to himself. How the hell was he able to do it, though? This is the Dobe we are talking about here. Sasuke kept wondering how he was able to do what he did, but then his mind focused on the memory. Wait, he had some type of weapon, yes, that giant key, he was able to block Zabuza's sword with that. That has to be the source of his strength, I must have it. That has to be it. There's no other way the dobe could be so strong. I'll demand him to hand it over to me, and if he doesn't I'll go to the council and have them make him give it to me, Sasuke thought, grinning. Kakashi's room. Kakashi had just revealed to the group, which consisted of his team and Tazuna, of how Zabuza was still alive, while he also explained to them how the Hunter Nin might also be their enemy. Everyone but Naruto's reaction had been shock, with a chill going up their spine, for the man who defeated their sensei and was capable of releasing the overwhelming killing intent was still alive. So now that you know Zabuza is alive, we must prepare for when we confront him again, Kakashi said to the group. Sensei, what do you mean prepare? You can barely even move, Sakura questioned. Hee, you guys will receive training, was his answer to her question. But sensei, if Zabuza's alive, can't he attack anytime? Should we really be training? She further questioned him. Well, when a person is put into a momentary death, it actually takes a bit before they can return to full strength, so until then we train. All of a sudden a boy walked into the room. Why do you even try? You just going to be killed by Gatu. This made Naruto raise an eyebrow. Inari decided he wasn't finished though. If you don't want to die, you should leave. Once everyone was finished talking, Naruto decided to go check on Inari. Once he reached his room, though, he heard the sound of crying coming from the room. Taking a look inside, he saw Inari sitting on a desk looking at a picture, while tears were flowing down his cheeks. Dad! This made Naruto's eyes soften, and he walked away from the room and headed back to the group. Outside. We will now begin your training, Kakashi stated to the group of genin. Today we will work on chakra control. The exercise we will be using is tree climbing. This isn't normal tree climbing though. You will be climbing without using your hands. Seeing the questioning looks from two of his students, Kakashi decided to demonstrate what they would be doing. He then proceeded to climb up the tree, as if he were walking on normal ground, making the confused looks turn into surprised ones. Kakashi then proceeded to explain to them how to achieve what he was currently doing, with Naruto mostly ignoring him, already knowing how to do this. Now Sasuke and Sakura, I want you to do this while Naruto goes with Tazuna to guard him on the bridge, Kakashi said. Sakura decided to speak up about this arrangement. Why does Naruto Baka not have to train? Kakashi decided to enlighten her. Well, as I'm sure you saw during the fight with Zabuza, all three of us were walking on the water. This got a shocked look from Sakura, since now that she was no longer in a life or danger situation, she could finally let her mind wonder about the smaller details. Now that you say that, how were you even able to do that? Naruto was the one who decided to answer this time. Well, that was actually what is called water walking. It's basically a more advanced version of what Kakashi just showed you. I learned how to do both during the year I was gone, so I don't need this kind of training. His response made Sasuke clench his fist. How can the dobe be so far ahead of me? Hatake, I demand you teach me how to water walk instead. He demanded of his sensei, only to get a glare in return. That's Kakashi sensei to you, and before you can water walk you must first master tree climbing. Sasuke was further enraged from being denied, so he decided to demand for something else. Dobe, I demand you give me that weapon you used to fight Zabuza. I bet that's the only reason you were able to defeat him. This made Naruto raise an eyebrow before he spoke up. No. Dobe, I am an Uchiha, and elite, and you must do what I tell you to, he said, only to be denied once again. I will give you one more chance. If you do not give it to me, I will have the council make you. This made Naruto roll his eyes. Team, no matter how many times you demand it, I will not give it to you. Before Sasuke could do anything foolish, Naruto turned around and walked back to the house to meet up with Tazuna to start his guarding duty. Kakashi handed the two a kunai to mark their progress before turning around to catch up with Naruto. You do know he really will go to the council, and with how much they spoil him and hate you, they really will demand you give it to him. I know, and I will cross that bridge when it comes. Besides, I already told you only a select few can even use it, was his response, ending the topic. Chapter 7. Wave Finale. Zabuza's Hideout. Haku was currently watching over a bedridden Zabuza since he has yet to recover. Haku's attention was drawn to the entrance of the room, however, when Gatu and 2 samurai bodyguards walked into the room. Heso, even the great demon, the mist lost, pathetic. Haku was on alert when she saw Gatu's 2 bodyguards start to draw their swords and attack. Gatu stopped them though when he saw what they were about to do. He then started to walk towards Zabuza and was about to pull down his mask. However, his hand never reached its destination as Gatu's arm was grabbed by a furious Haku. "Don't touch Zabuza-san with you dirty hands." His guards were about to draw their swords and charge at Haku, only for Haku to appear in the middle of them with one of their swords in each of her hands pressed against their throats. "Oh, one more time. I'll give you one more try, but if you fail," Gatu said in panic, trying to sound threatening but failing horribly. Gatu and his guards ran out of the room as fast as they could to get away from Haku. Haku then turned to Zabuza and said, "Gatu's probably going to turn on us. What should we do?" Zabuza, who hadn't spoken the entire time throughout the ordeal, said, "You're right, things are starting to look bleak. First we have to face off against the Sharingan, which wouldn't normally be a problem, but there is also that Gaki with the key. Even if we somehow defeat them, Gatu will most likely use that chance to finish us off while we're weak instead of paying us." "Like I said, what should we do?" Haku repeated herself. Running is out of the picture. Although Gatu is a worm, he still has many connections that could prove annoying. Killing him, although very appealing, is also out of the picture. If we do that, the commotion that it would cause would have Kiri after us again. Haku and Zabuza started to think over their situation, trying to think of any way to avoid any danger. Finally, Haku spoke up. "I know you probably won't like this, but how about we try to ask the Konohinin for help and work together with them to bring down Gatu? This way his death will be pointed towards the Konohinin, and it will seem as if we were never here." Zabuza's eyes widened a little, then narrowed. "Even if we try to get their help, what makes you think they will give it to us?" "I don't, but it's the only option we have. I'll go meet up with them since they don't know my face, so they won't attack me straight out," Haku said, sure that their ruse with her being a hunter-nin had already been figured out. Bridge. Naruto was currently yawning to himself while he was just standing around on the bridge doing nothing but watching over Tazuna. To sum it up in one word, it was boring. "Hey Naruto, where's the other 2? Tazuna said while noting the blonde's boredom. "Mo, those 2 are doing some training right now," he responded to Tazuna's question. "What about you?" Tazuna asked, though his thoughts were along the lines of, "Well, not that he really needs it. I mean, he did overpower Zabuza." "Nah, I already did the training they're doing right now. Not much point in me staying there, so Kakashi-sensei sent me here to guard you and the other bridge builders," Naruto responded, followed by another yawn. A man then came over and called out Tazuna's name, who then proceeded to walk over to the man, wondering what he wanted. Naruto looked over towards the 2 with interest, seeing how heated the conversation was. Naruto then saw that Tazuna dismiss everyone, saying that it was enough for the day. "So what was that all about?" Naruto asked when Tazuna walked back towards him. Tazuna sighed with his shoulders slumping. "That was Jichi. He said he wanted to stop working on the bridge. More and more people are starting to quit for fear of their lives and what Gata may do to those who are standing up to him. At this rate, we may never get the bridge done if everyone keeps quieting." In town. Naruto and Tazuna were currently walking through the town of Wave on their way to pick up food for tonight. Naruto was looking around at how poor the town was and noted and depressed everyone was. He even saw children sitting around homeless. Naruto then felt a tug on his pants and he looked down to see a young kid holding his hands out. Naruto ended up giving the kid some candy and smiled slightly as the kid's face lit up. "It has been like this since Gata showed up," Tazuna said. "Everyone has lost hope. This is why we need the bridge. The bridge is not only so we can get out from under Gatu's grasp, but also a symbol of courage so everyone can stand up for themselves. Tazuna, no matter what happens, I'll free this village and I'll make sure that Gatu can never do something like this again," Naruto said with determination in his face, with his hands clenched into fists. Tazuna's house. Everyone was currently sitting around a table eating dinner. Sasuke and Sakura looked exhausted from the training and were glaring at Naruto, who was able to skip out on it. Sakura then saw a picture on the wall and asked about it, which led into a conversation that ended with Inari charging out of the room. Tazuna then told the tale about the hero of Wave, who happened to be Inari's father but not by blood. After Tazuna had finished telling the story, Naruto was beyond pissed at what Gata had done. He knew he needed to go relieve his anger. He then stood up and looked towards Kakashi. "Sensei, I'm going to go do some of my own training." He then left the room, not even waiting for a response, and found an area in the dense forest out of sight and called out his keyblade and started to relieve his anger on the trees around him. Time skip next day. Haku was walking through the forest, look for herbs to help heal Zabuza. But to her surprise, she happened upon a part of the forest that was completely destroyed. However, the method that the trees were destroyed varied between many different ways. In one area she could see that the trees were chopped down. In another they seemed to be either burned to cinders or blasted apart from what looked like a lightning strike. What surprised her most, though, were the trees that were either frozen or the giant pile of trees that looked as if they had been uprooted and then crushed together. What could have happened here? The trees are completely devastated. And not by just one way either, were the thoughts of the scared Haku. Then she saw something that stuck out the most, for in the middle of all the destruction stood one tree, which usually wouldn't have looked all that strange in a forest. Why is that tree still standing? She then headed over towards the tree and walked around it, only for her eyes to widen and for her to gasp. The reason for her surprise was because of what she found behind the tree, for what she saw was the blonde Konohanin that had fought off Zabuza before. "Are you telling me he did all of this? I must tell Zabuza, no matter what happens we mustn't face him, for surely we would die. Wait, maybe I could use this as a chance to ask him to relay a message to his sensei asking for help." She then went over and was about to gently shake the boy awake, only for her to be surprised when the boy spoke up. "Hello. Lovely day, isn't it? My, it seems you were already awake. Do you mind telling me what happened here?" she asked with a fake calmness. Her thoughts, on the other hand, were like a raging storm. Was he awake this whole time? Well, I kinda got a little pissed off yesterday and needed a way to relieve some of it. And as you can tell, I think I went a little overboard, he said sheepishly while scratching the back of his head. "How about you, Hunter Neen? What are you doing here?" he asked, further surprising her. "How did you know?" Did you really think a mask would matter to someone who couldn't see?" he asked. He then asked another question that made her stiffen. "So how's Zabuza doing?" "He knows that Zabuza's alive, so I was right, they did see through it. But how can he be so calm when an enemy is so close to him? Or maybe he's so calm because he knows he could kill me whenever he wants to," she thought to herself while shivering at the last part. "So what are you going to do? Are you going to kill me?" she asked, fearful of what he may do. Nah, you haven't attacked me yet, nor do you seem hostile," he said nonchalantly, seemingly without a care in the world. "He's not going to kill me? Does that mean he's just going to let me get away? Surely not. He's probably going to bring me to his team so they could interrogate me," she thought, wondering what the blonde may do. "Well, if you're not going to kill me, can you relay a message to your sensei?" she asked, acting upon her plan, and maybe the only way to get out of this safely. "Oh, and what would that be?" he asked, interested in what she may have to tell him. "Gatu is going to betray us and most likely kill us whether we complete this mission or not. We've decided to ask you and your team for help against him," she said. She saw the boy thinking it over. "Usually I would suspect this as a trap, but from what I heard of this Gatu, it sounds like something he'd do. All right, I'll relay a message to Kakashi-sensei. Meet me here tomorrow and I'll have an answer. Don't worry, I'll come alone." Haku then started to walk away, but she turned back to ask him a question. "Do you mind telling me why you became so strong?" This seemed to gain the boy's interest. "The reason I've gained this strength, I think I know, but I'm not too sure. You know, I believe that true strength comes from when someone wishes to protect what is precious to them," she said, making the boy gain a thoughtful look. "You know what? I think you may be right. I never got your name. Mine's Naruto, by the way." At this she let out a little giggle. "My name is Haku. It was nice to meet you, Naruto." She started to walk away again before he said something that caught her off guard. "You know, you shouldn't wear a mask that hides such a pretty face." This caused her to blush and walk faster while she heard a chuckle coming from the blonde. But then she paused for a second. "Wait, how does he know how I look like? I thought he couldn't see." With Naruto. Hee hee. She was pretty cute. Good thing that clone popped and woke me up, he thought to himself. For you see, Naruto had created a clone to stand guard in the branches of the tree he was sleeping on, and for some reason the clones do not gain the power over darkness like he does, so they do not have to wear the blindfold that is used to seal said darkness. He got up then started to head towards Tezuna's house to inform Kakashi about the proposition that had arisen during his conversation. Tauna's house. So Zabuza and this Haku wish to team up with us to kill Gatu? Kakashi asked with a raised eyebrow. This could be a trap. That crossed my mind too, but with what we've heard of this Gata guy so far, it sounds like something he would actually do, Naruto responded. So what do you think we should do? Kakashi asked, wanting to hear the boy's opinion. Truthfully, I say we go with it and see how it plays out, Naruto said. If it's a trap, I'm pretty sure I can handle it. If not, I'm sure I would be able to escape. Kakashi sighed. It would be great if they were telling the truth, but if it is a trap and if anything were to happen to Naruto. He then looked Naruto in the eye. Alright, Naruto will go with you plan. But that is only if you send out a clone to meet them while you watch over what happens. Okay, I'll send out a clone and hide and watch over the meeting. If I see them act suspicious at all, I'll make a break for it, he said, while Kakashi seemed to be trying to confirm the blonde's words that he won't do anything reckless. Also Kakashi, I think we should wait to inform Sasuke and Sakura about this until after we have a plan set, Naruto said, making Kakashi raise his eyebrow. Why do you think that, Naruto? Kakashi questioned, only for Naruto to sigh. I have a feeling that they would disagree with the plan to team up with them. The reason I think they would disagree is mostly because of Sasuke's arrogance, while Sakura would just follow his lead. What does his arrogance have to do with this? Kakashi asked, interested in where Naruto is heading with this. To be honest, Sasuke sees having a team as burden, thinking he could do anything on his own. He would probably see it as a sign of weakness to have the enemy help him, making him against the idea, and as I said before, Sakura would just agree with anything Sasuke says. Naruto informed Kakashi of his thoughts. Sadly, I think you're right. Alright, we'll tell them once we have a plan, that way it will be too late for them to mess anything up, Kakashi said, agreeing with Naruto's opinion of his teammates. Kakashi was also currently going over Naruto's words in his head. Damn, he's right. The Uchiha's arrogance really would make him see things that way. Something has to be done about it before he gets either himself or this team killed. Alright, Naruto, go prepare yourself however you need to for when you meet with them, but do this without alerting either of your teammates of what's happening. Otherwise, we may not have a choice whether they know or not, Kakashi said before he went to go do some training himself to try to get his body back to 100%. Time skip. Meeting spot. Naruto was hiding in a set of trees that hadn't been destroyed by his onslaught from when he was relieving himself of his anger. He was currently watching over one of his Kagebunshin, who was leaning against the tree where he met Haku the day before. He then saw two figures coming from the opposite direction of which he had entered the forest, heading towards his clone. With Zabuza and Haku. The duo were currently walking towards the blindfolded blonde who was leaning against a tree. To Zabuza's interest, though, it seemed as if the Gaki wasn't tense at all, nor was he letting his guard down either. Basically, he's saying he has no fear of us, but he's not letting his guard down either. This Gaki is getting more and more interesting. Hey Haku-chan, Zabuza-san. The Gaki greeted them. Now if Zabuza had any eyebrows, one of them would have risen just now. Haku-chan? Zabuza then turned his head to look at the said person, only for his eyebrow to raise even further when he saw her blushing. Well, I'll be damned, she's actually blushing. I don't think I've ever seen her blush before. Haku was currently sporting a blush across her face. She tried to compose herself only to fail with the blush still on her face. Chan, why did he suddenly add a Chan, and why the hell am I blushing so much? Hello Naruto-kun. It's good to see you again, she said while further trying to compose herself only to blush at the little stutter. Damn it, what is wrong with me? Now both of Zabuza's eyebrows would have rose in shock if he had any. Holy shit, the Gaki's good. I can't believe she actually stuttered. Zabuza coughed into his hand, trying to draw the duo's attention, while saving the girl some dignity, before she head straight towards becoming a stuttering mess. As I'm sure Haku-chan has told you, we are looking to team up with you and your team. The teasing tone he had when he said Haku-chan seemed to not have been missed if the glare he got from said girl was anything to go by. but he did note how she still had a blush across her face. Yeah, she told me how you don't trust Gatu to hold up his end of the bargain and how he'll probably try to kill you either way, he heard the Naruto say. Good, you understand what we are dealing with then. Anyway, I have a plan on how to take Gata down if your side has agreed to the teaming up, Zabuza said. We agree, so what's the plan? Naruto asked, while Haku's shoulders seemed to relax a little in relief. Good, anyways, to understand the plan I will tell you what Gatu's original plan was, Zabuza said. The original plan was going to be us fighting against your team on the bridge. Then from what I could gather, Gatu was going to bring a group of mercenaries to finish off both sides once both were tired out and collect the bounties from both sides. This made Naruto nod. I can see that happening. Kakashi has quite a bounty from what I saw in the bingo book, while Zabuza's is especially high since he's a missing nin, and also since he tried to assassinate the Mizukage. Now here's what I have planned, Zabuza continued. We will stick with me and Haku meeting your group on the bridge, but instead we'll have a staged fight and wait for Gatu to show his ugly mug. Gatu will bring a group of mercenaries, but I will tell you this right now, he believes in quantity over quality, so while they may have numbers they should be easy to take out. Naruto seemed to be thinking the plan over before he gave a nod. Simple, but it should work, and from what I've heard of Gatu we won't need anything complex anyways. Alright, I'll head back and inform my team. Also, not that they could harm either of you, but I'll have to warn you try to avoid my two other teammates. They may try to do something stupid. Alright, if we go with this plan, then Zabuza-san, you should have your staged fight with Kakashi-sensei while I'll be paired up with Haku. This way we can have those two hang back and guard Tazuna while staying out of the way and hopefully stop them from doing anything stupid. Alright, also one more thing. Gatu is a sleazebag who would probably send some of his men after the bridge builder's family, Zabuza informed him. Naruto seemed to be thinking over this new information. I'll leave a Kage Bunshin with them. This answer shocked Zabuza. Wait, isn't Kage Bunshin supposed to be a Jounin level? He decided to voice this. Kage Bunshin? Hee. Yup, a Kage Bunshin, the blonde said before disappearing in a poof of smoke. This further shocked Zabuza. Are you telling me we were talking to a clone this entire time? I couldn't even tell. I'm glad he's on our side, Haku said, with Zabuza agreeing with her. He then let a smirk cross over his face, although it could not be seen because of the bandages over his mask. So what's with the Haku-chan and all the blushing, huh? The blush ended up coming back full throttle, much to Zabuza's amusement. And nothing, she said before turning around and walking back to their hideout, making Zabuza chuckle to himself. That Gaki is getting more and more interesting. Tazuna's house. Once Zabuza and Haku had left the clearing, he went back to Tazuna's house and informed Kakashi of what happened, and of the plan he and Zabuza had devised. A staged fight to lure him out, sounds like it could work, and I agree with having the other two hang back to defend Tazuna. This way less complications will arise, Kakashi said while running his thoughts over the information he had just been told. That's my thoughts exactly, although it may be hard to get the Uchiha to actually stay back, Naruto said, which caused Kakashi to sigh. I know, I would just order him to, but the chances of him actually following the order, I guess we'll have to deal with it when it happens. Hopefully we can control the situation enough so he'll cause minimal damage, Naruto said, also sighing. Well, I guess it's time to inform everyone about what's happening. Gotta say, thought I am not looking forward to the two's reaction yet. I find myself wondering what they'll actually do, Naruto said with a smirk, imagining the stupid stunts the duo may pull. Naruto then exited the room and gathered everyone, and told them to follow him into Kakashi's room, although Sasuke refused at first, saying, I don't take orders from you. Finally, when the group had been gathered, Kakashi and Naruto proceeded to tell them about how they will be allying themselves with Zabuza to take down Gatu. The reactions had been mixed. Tazuna seemed slightly relieved at having someone like Zabuza on their side and not their enemy, although that seemed to be overshadowed by the determination in his eyes to finally free his village from under Gatu's tyrannical rule. As expected, Sasuke hadn't taken the news well. First it started out with him arguing why he had been left out of the loop while the Dobe was not. Then his anger shifted to the thought of allying themselves with the enemy. The ever-loyal fangirl was also backing up Sasuke the whole way, while screeching out how Sasuke's so strong that he would be fine by himself and other things along the same line, while degrading Naruto when she wasn't praising the Uchiha. Finally, Kakashi had informed the duo how they were to stay back and out of the fight and guard Tazuna. Sasuke's anger increased even more. He glared at Kakashi, then turned his glare on Naruto before storming out of the room, cursing the duo the whole time. Everyone headed off to bed to prepare for the inevitable fight on the bridge tomorrow, and hopefully the end of Gatu's reign. Time skip next day. Bridge. Team 7 was currently standing on the bridge facing against Zabuza and Haku. The bridge had been evacuated the moment the duo had shown up, so they would not get in their way. Stick to the plan. I'll confront Zabuza while Naruto faces off with Haku. All the while you two will hang back and guard Tazuna, Kakashi ordered, giving a stern look to the duo. Sasuke grit his teeth and glared at the back of Kakashi's head. How dare he make me hang back, while the dobe gets to be in the middle of the battle. Naruto then shifted his body and was about to dash towards Haku to begin the farce of a battle, only to see Sasuke shoot past him. Shit, that idiot, he's going to ruin everything. With a clang, the two were in a deadlock, with Sasuke attacking with a kunai and Haku defending with a senbon. Haku was panicking a little but did not show it. What is he doing? He's ruining the plan. Wait, I see, this is the arrogant one that Naruto-kun was talking about. I'll try to knock him unconscious then. Haku then started to perform one-handed seals, surprising some of the people there. Hayatan, Sensatsu Sway Show, Ice Release, 1,000 Flying Water Needles of Death. Once Haku had said this, the water around the duo rose into the air and froze into thousands of needles made of ice. The needles were all aimed for non-lethal areas that would paralyze or knock the opponent into blissful unconsciousness. Unfortunately, Sasuke had evaded the technique by focusing chakra into his legs and jumping straight up to avoid all the needles. Seems like it won't be as easy as I thought it would be to knock him unconscious, Haku thought while jumping back to avoid shurikens thrown at her. Sasuke had used the chance though to sneak behind Haku and engage her once again with his kunai, forcing her to block with a senbon. Sasuke was then able to lure Haku into the path of a kick that made Haku skid back and stop in front of Zabuza. While this was happening, everyone else had been watching on. Naruto thought was pissed off at what Sasuke was doing. Damn it, he's not holding back at all, he's actually trying to kill her. At least Haku is aiming for a non-lethal takedown, although I'm kinda disappointed at that thought too. Naruto then turned to face Kakashi. Sensei, I think it's best if we leave those two alone for the moment. Haku seems to be aiming to knock the team unconscious, so I'll either jump in if he is knocked unconscious, or it seems like Haku's in danger. Kakashi thought this over before nodding. Alright, we'll stick to the original plan then, but you'll hang back for the moment instead of Sasuke. Haku decided that she had enough of this and decided to bring out her trump card, Hayatan, Makio Hyosho, Ice Release, Demonic Ice Mirrors. 21 mirrors of ice surrounded him and were created from the water around him. Haku then walked into one of the mirrors and her reflection was now visible on all of the mirrors. Sasuke was then under siege by hundreds of senbon that came from every direction, leaving him no room to dodge. This continued for a while until Sasuke had become a human pin cushion, although during the attack Sasuke was able to awaken the Sharingan. His body was just not able to move as he wished it to, making him unable to dodge the senbon even if he could predict their movement. Finally, Haku was able to hit a pressure point that caused Sasuke to be knocked unconscious. Damn, I'm using more chakra than I originally wished to. Once Naruto had saw Sasuke being knocked unconscious, he turned towards Kakashi. Well, seems like that problem's out of the way. Also, it seems my clone has ended up confronting what seemed to be two of Gatu's goons. Naruto then faced towards Haku and let a grin cross his face. Well, it seems like it's my turn. Can't keep a lady waiting, as they say. Naruto and Kakashi then dashed towards their respective opponents to get their plan underway for real this time and hopefully without any further complications arising. During the fight between Naruto and Haku, Haku had decided to stop her jutsu so she could save chakra. In return, the fight mostly consisted of a taijutsu fight at a level where neither of them would be worn out once Gatu decided to show up. The only problem during the fight was when Sakura had seen Sasuke's body that was filled with senbon. She ended up thinking he was dead and took out a kunai to charge at Haku. How dare you kill Sasuke-kun, you bitch! I'll kill you. However, she was quickly dispatched when Haku had dodged the slow kunai strike and had chopped Sakura on the back of the neck, knocking her unconscious. Naruto sighed when he saw Sakura charge at Haku, although when he saw how easily she was defeated he could only sweat drop. That was pathetic. Kakashi and Zabuza's fight had consisted of them exchanging low-level jutsus, water clones, and Zabuza also taking a few slow swipes at Kakashi with his Zanbato. After a little while, everyone had started to move sluggishly, so as to give off the appearance that the battle was taking a toll on everyone so as to lure out Gato. "Zabuza, you seem not to be doing too good." A voice suddenly spoke up, catching everyone's attention. Looking towards where the voice came from, everyone saw a group of people armed to the teeth, and in front of all these people was Gato himself. Keeping up with the act, Zabuza turned towards Gato and asked, "Gato, what are you doing here with all these men?" "He plans have changed." "Well, actually I planned to do this from the beginning," Gato said. "Zabuza, you and your apprentice will die here." Gato then turned to his men and ordered, "All right men, kill the shinobi, but leave women alive, they can still be used." Gato had said the last part with a lustful leer on his face while glancing towards Haku. "I'll make that bitch pay for before." 4 of the mercenaries charged forth, hoping to snatch up the women, and maybe they'll be allowed to have a chance at them first, or hoping to get a bonus for killing the shinobi. Gato had a smirk as the men charged. "Shinobi he. They're nothing but talk, and now they're to worn out form their earlier fight. Once the mercenaries kill the men, I'll be able to get the bounty off of both Zabuza and the other white-haired nin while not having to pay Zabuza at all," Gato thought while smirking to himself at how ingenious he thought his plan was. However, to his surprise, the 4 men were killed with ease. One of them had his throat slit by a kunai, another had his body cut in half, while the third one was a human pincushion, but unlike Sasuke, this one was dead. The final one, though, was what scared the rest of the mercenaries and Gato the most. His head was completely crushed by a punch to the face, form the blindfolded blonde of the group. The corpse went flying past the group and ended up being flung off the bridge altogether, showing the strength of the blonde. What confused Gato, though, was that the 4 people who had looked completely exhausted a second ago were all looking good as new. "Wow, what the hell? All of you should be dead tired right now. What the hell is going on?" Gato screamed out, furious at being duped. "Heh! Gato, you're the real fool if you think I wouldn't figure out your little plan," Zabuza said. And although he seemed to be smirking at duping Gato, he was also furious at what Gato wanted to do with his daughter. His anger, however, was overshadowed by another. For next to him stood Naruto, who looked like he was physically holding himself from killing everyone before him. How dare he talk like that about Haku? However, something unexpected happened. Naruto's keyblade had appeared in his hand without him willing it to, surprising him. "What the hell? Wait, it's done this before, and it always happened when..." All of a sudden, both the keyblade and Zabuza's Zanbato started to glow brightly, surprising everyone there but Naruto. The most surprised, however, was the owner of the Zanbato. "What the hell is going on?" The brightness around the keyblade became so bright that only a silhouette could be seen. Then the silhouette started to change shape. Once the shape had stopped changing, in Naruto's hand was a new keyblade that looked to be as big as Zabuza's Kubikirabocho, decapitating carving knife. Kakashi turned towards Naruto and asked him, "Naruto, what just happened? Why did your keyblade change shape?" Naruto glanced towards Kakashi and said, "Remember how I said there were many different forms to the keyblade? Well, it seems had just unlocked a new form, and since Zabuza's sword was glowing too, I'm guessing this sword was based off of his. Luckily, when I get a new keyblade, I can use a skill that allows me to scan it and allows me to know what its name is and its abilities, and from what I can tell, this keyblade's name is Executioner." Naruto then gave a thoughtful look as he was sorting through the new information he had received about the Executioner keyblade. "I stand corrected. It seems only its size is based off of your sword, Zabuza. Its abilities, however, seem to be based off of you if its ability to enhance water-style attacks is anything to go by," Naruto said, shocking the group. Zabuza was looking at the Executioner keyblade in wonder. "Wait, are you telling me that giant key thing you used to fight me has the ability to change its shape and abilities, and it's actually using me and Kubikirabocho as a base for this form?" Naruto faced Zabuza and responded with a, "Yeah, pretty much, now back to business." He then turned back to the group of mercenaries who had been trying to either stop their gaping at what they just saw or rubbing at their eyes to fix their sight after the bright flash that had momentarily blinded them. Lucky me, I have a lot of scum to fight so I can test it out." However, it seemed the keyblade wasn't done yet as a dim glow shot out of it, causing a blue aura to shroud over both Zabuza and Naruto. Zabuza was confused on what was going on. while Naruto had a grin on his face that started to scare a few of the mercenaries. Zabuza, you're going to love this. Just follow my lead, you'll know what to do. Just trust your instincts and your body. With that said, Naruto charged forward, and strangely Zabuza found himself moving to follow after him without him even try to. What the hell is happening? Well, I guess I'll trust the Gaki for now. Naruto and Zabuza then disappeared from everyone's sight and appeared in the middle of all the mercenaries back to back. Even the other shinobi had been surprised by the speed the duo had displayed. However, the person who was surprised the most was Zabuza himself. What the hell just happened? There's no way I should have been able to move that fast. Naruto and Zabuza then started to move in perfect sync as they both spun around still back to back as they slashed at the people closest to them. After the initial attack, the two continued to move in perfect sync as Naruto started to do 360 spins while slashing with the Executioner Keyblade. However, from the tip of his blade it seemed that water was being produced and hitting enemies that were originally out of range. While Naruto did this, Zabuza would charge at enemies and slash them, and then after a couple of slashes he would jump up and slam his Zanbato on the ground in the middle of a group of enemies that would then produce pillars of water. While the two were attacking, neither of them seemed to interfere with each other. In fact, it seemed their attacks would weave between each other, allowing them to take down countless enemies all at once. Kakashi was watching on in shock. How the hell are they able to fight like that? They've never even fought as a team before, but here they are fighting in perfect sync. Zabuza! Naruto shouted while he held the executioner in a reverse grip with the blade being horizontally parallel to his body. It seemed that Zabuza immediately knew what to do as he held his sword out, and it looked as if the two weapons had combined at the hilt with the blades pointing in opposite directions. Naruto then said, "Focus then chakra and now spin." And with that the chakra started to make the two blades spin in midair as both Naruto and Zabuza had jumped back. Once the two were a safe distance away, the blades had picked up speed. Enough speed, in fact, to make a small tornado in the middle of the bridge. The tornado, however, was made completely out of water and was sucking in all the mercenaries and sweeping them up in the current of the tornado. Immediately after Naruto and Zabuza's feet had touched the ground from when they had jumped away from the blades, they started to do hand signs, while still being in perfect sync as they would do each seal at the same time. Once the water tornado had died down, all of the mercenaries were all gathered up in a huge group in the middle of the air, disoriented and battered up. This was also the same time that Naruto and Zabuza had called out their jutsu as they had finished the last hand sign. Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu, Water Release, Water Dragon Bullet. Water rose up from the water around them and formed two dragons that then charged towards the group while their bodies were parallel to the ground while barely being above the ground. When the two dragons were about to collide with each other under the group of mercenaries, they shot up and started to coil around each other until both of the dragons collided with the group of mercenaries. All of the mercenaries were now dead, while Gato, who had been out of harm's way, had watched on in horror. The shinobi all were gaping at what had just happened, not believing what had just happened before their eyes. The aura that had been around Naruto and Zabuza the entire time had finally died down after their final attack. Naruto then started to walk towards Gato, while Zabuza was frozen in shock at what he had just done. What the hell did I just do? There's no way I should have been able to do even half of what I just did. When Gato had seen one of the two that had decimated his mercenaries head towards him, he tried to back up away from him only to trip and land on his ass. He stared up helpless, fearing for his life. He then tried to beg for his life. "SP, spare me. I'll give you anything, just don't kill me. If it's money you want, I got it. Women, is that it? I can give that to you, just don't kill me." Naruto ignored what Gato was blubbering and raised his arm about to cut Gato down. But then Gato said something that caught his interest. "Wait, if you kill me, then the villagers will die." Naruto lowered his arm while narrowing his eyes at Gato. "Tell me what you mean the villagers will die." "Wait, promise me you won't kill me." "Then I'll tell you," Gato said, allowing some hope to rise, thinking he may still be able to get out of this with his life intact. Naruto glared at the man before saying, "All right, I promise I won't kill you." This seemed to snap everyone out of their shock and started to protest. "Naruto-kun, you can't be serious. You're going to let that scum live? Naruto, are you sure you know what you're doing? Gaki. What the hell are you doing? Just kill him." "No, I'll let him live as long as he tells me what he has planned for the village and if it's true." he said, showing that he would not back down. He then turned towards Gatu. If you're lying to me, I'll give you a painful death. Alright, these mercenaries aren't all of the ones that I hired. I have another army of them back at my base, and should something happen to me, they've been ordered to attack the village, and don't think killing me will make them stop. I have a way to pay them even if I'm dead, Gata said. If you let me live, I can order off the attack and I'll leave Wave along. I'll move to somewhere else, it's the truth, I swear, he finished while smirking on the inside. If he does let me live, I'll order them to attack anyways, and with the numbers back at the base, it should be easy to take down these shinobi. Naruto then turned away. As promised, I won't kill you, he said, making Gata smirk. But what Naruto said next replaced the smirk with fear. But I only promised that I wouldn't kill you. Zabuza, on the other hand, With that, Naruto met up with the rest of the group while Zabuza was walking up towards Gatu with a demonic grin across his face that everyone knew was there even if they couldn't see it. Mary, mercy please, Gata cried out while shaking in fear. Zabuza's grin seemed to grow even more. Sorry, all out of mercy. He then proved his sword worthy of its name as he separated Gatu's head from his shoulders. Naruto watched as Zabuza walked towards the group after he had killed Gatu. Once he was near enough, he asked, I take it you and Haku know where his main base is? Zabuza nodded while saying, Yeah, I know where it is, although the mercenaries would be camping outside of the base since there wouldn't be enough room. Naruto nodded at this. He then turned to Tazuna. It would be best if you head back to the village. Bring the idiots with you while you're at it. Tazuna only nodded at this, grabbing the idiots while heading back to his village, excited to bring the good news of Gatu's demise and their freedom. Forest surrounding Gatu's base. The group that consisted of Naruto, Kakashi, Haku, and Zabuza were currently spying on the mercenaries that they had came to eliminate. Kakashi decided to speak up. He wasn't kidding that there were more. There has to be at least 5x the amount he brought to the bridge. The village would be overrun quickly without even being able to stand a chance. As Kakashi had stated, there was an army of mercenaries camping in a large clearing close to Gatu's base. The number of mercenaries seemed to number around a couple hundred. Naruto then had an idea of what to do, an idea that his Keyblade actually seemed to be trying to carry out on its own. Alright guys, I think I've got a plan, Naruto stated while turning towards the group next to him. Alright, I'm sure you all remember the attack that me and Zabuza had just performed. Zabuza then spoke up. Speaking of which, what the hell happened back there? There's no way I should have been able to do all that. I felt faster and stronger than ever before. Well, that's what is called a limit break. Basically, the Keyblade sends out an aura that allows someone to fight beyond what they originally should have been able to do. This aura covers two people who will then be connected to each other at an instinctual level, allowing them to perform a devastating combo and fight in perfect sync, and perform attacks that they would have never thought of before but find themselves doing. An example of this would be the final attack. Zabuza, I'm pretty sure doing that attack never even crossed your mind before, but you found yourself doing it anyways. This is the limit break. Everyone was shocked at this. No one could believe such a thing was possible, but were unable to deny it as they had seen it done before their own eyes. In one case, found themselves doing. Anyways, my plan is to perform another limit break, but this time with Haku, Naruto stated, getting an eep from said girl. W with me? Yup, I saw when you were fighting Sasuke earlier you were able to manipulate ice. Well, I have an idea for an attack that we could do, but it would probably require the limit break for us to pull it off, he stated. Haku's thoughts strayed back to when she first met Naruto. More specifically, her thoughts had focused on the frozen trees she had saw amidst the destruction. Alright, I'll do it. Good, follow me. We need to find a spot that gives us a straight shot at the camp that will allow us to hit everyone. After a little bit, the group had happened upon a hill a little ways away from the camp, but allowing them a view of the camp as a whole. Naruto then turned to face Haku. Alright, just trust me and trust your instincts. Naruto then had his Keyblade appear in his hand, but it was a Keyblade no one there had seen before. This Keyblade's name is the Mysterious Abyss. It gives a boost in ice attacks and abilities. Then an aura flowed out of the Keyblade and wrapped around both Naruto and Haku. But this time the color of the aura was of a lighter blue. As Zabuza had said, Haku found herself feeling stronger and faster than ever before. Naruto then lifted his right arm until his Keyblade was pointed straight at the camp of mercenaries. Seeing this, Haku also found herself bringing her left arm and grabbed the handle of the Keyblade along with Naruto. Haku blushed a little as she found her hand touching Naruto's but willed it away and became serious. Naruto then spoke up like he had when he and Zabuza were charging up for their final attack. Now focus your ice element chakra into the Keyblade and charge it up. She did just that, but to her surprise, she could feel something similar coming from Naruto also chagrining up the Keyblade. The tip of the Keyblade started to glow brightly the same frosty blue color as the aura surrounding them. Keep charging, almost there. Naruto and her kept charging the Keyblade until finally Naruto said, "Now release it." Naruto and her then, in the same perfect sync that he and Zabuza had been in, released the energy which shot out towards the alarmed group of mercenaries who had saw the glow. It was too late, however, as the attack had hit the middle of the camp, which was immediately trapped in a giant glacier that had frozen the whole camp. The group watched in amazement at the power behind the attack and the sheer size of the attack. However, the attack was not done. Naruto then said something that caught all their interest. "Now break." Once the words were out of his mouth, the giant glacier shattered into pieces. The attack had ended up killing all the mercenaries at once, not leaving a single survivor. The aura died down as the attack was now finished. Naruto then around and head back to the village while shouting over his shoulder, "Well, the mission's basically over, let's head back and get some sleep and inform the village what happened." Everyone just nodded, speechless, as they had yet to find the voices after what had just happened.